There's a couple hours left in the trading session. We'll take you right through to 4 o'clock where we get, hey, guess what? Tesla earnings coming up after the bell tonight. Going to be the headliner aftermarket. Will be a wild ride for sure. If you remember going back to last month, the delivery numbers below expectations. Will earnings come in below expectations as well? We'll find out later on this evening. Here we go. This is how the markets are shaping up so far at this point in the afternoon. 1.16 for the S&P. The slide continues. Full percent for the Dow and the NASDAQ to the downside as well. About the same here in Toronto. 0.91 for the TSX, even with a lot of strength in energy with oil back on the rise. You can see huge move, 3.7%. When I sat down this morning, crude oil was negative on the day, only just, but was definitely negative. Huge move back to the upside. 0.8 there for Bitcoin, Ethereum as well, back in the red. That is the S&P 500 currently, as I mentioned, 1.05. The only group here left in positive territory. It's been slowly going more red and more red and more red over and over as time went by this afternoon. But only energy back in positive territory today. Everything else downside now. Consumer discretionaries among the worst off. Healthcare stocks led by Moderna up there, 7.3%, among the worst. This is the industrial group, just UAL left. 6.7% in positive territory for UAL. What a day it's been off of earnings for them. AAL right beside it there in positive territory. Netflix, 13%. It was up 15 at one point this morning. We'll touch on that coming up here, but some of the communication stocks holding on to positive territory as well. Tech, though, among the leaders to the downside. What a choppy day. Back and forth we go. I mean, maybe needed overall, coming off what has happened the past couple of days. Welcome in, guys, this afternoon. Hope you're well. Hope the day is going well. Hope the afternoon is even better for you. We will try and make it that way. Smash the like when you get a chance. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so. Let's get into what we were discussing in the pre-market this morning. A ton to cover in the pre-market. Make sure you come join us every day at 8:30. We get you set for the open at 9:30. We'll get into everything that was moving around this morning, figure out what worked, what didn't, what we can do better tomorrow. Neil's going to lead us off today with a look at one of his trades from this morning.
Yes, sir. Trade of the day is going to be NIO. It's NIO. Of course, you have Tesla reporting earnings, and the EV space was going downside, mostly the Chinese EVs. As always, Trade of the day brought to you by Day Trade the World. Check that QR code below. Get your trading journey started. Getting started today, sometimes you gotta keep it simple. Now, granted, I've been talking about XPeng and its weakness for a couple of weeks now and liking those shorts. But in NIO, I'm not even going 15 or 60-minute chart. This is the daily, so you get an idea where we were at the beginning of last year. I mean, 2021, this is a $40 stock, but I really just want to focus on, since it made that recent high here, maybe mid last year, toward the end of last year, it has just been all downside on NIO. And then you had this level right there back in April. It's $11.70. That was that big monster low. Of course, we end up testing that here today. And it's as simple as this. Right at the open, or like right before the open, we're sitting in the middle between 12 even and that 1170. So we're sitting at about 1180. And this is pretty binary at this point. If you don't break that low, test it at the open, and then break out at 12, okay, you've rejected the all-time low. I'm okay with going long. Throw a 12 long breakout, throw the stop at 30, have NIO run to the upside. That is not what happened at all. What ends up happening is the initial test is to the upside, rejects it at 80. You know I like pop and fade as an idea. And then once you broke that 70 level, it's like engage in the short. I did scalp some out right away. I actually got slipped pretty decently into the 60s. Slippage meaning when it broke that 70 level, I wasn't short right away at 68 or 69. I was slipped down to 60. Fortunately, and this is the important thing about that trade, it ends up holding that channel. We always talk about being patient. It holds the bottom of that channel. I scalped some out there. You're not really seeing a 50 break, 1150 break, and then it tries to retest the high up here at 1170. I mean, is it really going to be that simple? It retests the low, the 52-week low, gets broken, and retested to the upside and rejects cleanly at that price level. That's a re-entry if I've ever seen it. We jump on that re-entry, again, scalps them out, it breaks a low, some more scalps out. When this 50 level starts holding, $11.50, $11, $12, these even dollar levels sometimes have a massive bid on it. So as it continued to hold that level, I took more shares out. Here's where it gets hairy. If you're watching our live show, at this particular moment, the market was trying to grind upside. NEO was holding weakness. XPeng, which I was also short, was holding weakness. CCL, which I was also short, was holding weakness. So when this pop came in, I had some choices to make when the market started to roll over. It rejected 37.40. You can check the timing on the ES. E-minis, 37.40 rejected. NEO starts to roll over. XPeng roll over. CCL roll over. I was at 1, 2, 3 punching into more shorts in those two, and I missed on NEO. I didn't actually get it because it was the third one I went to. That was probably the mistake right there because NEO was the weakest, but didn't get that re-entry on NIO. All that being said, I decided not to chase it or take the 1150 break. I could have simply added on the 1150 break. But once you're beneath that floor, there's no more initial scalp. It is allow it to go 25 pennies and then take some out in that next quarter range. And then once it breaks the other quarter, I'm just getting out in front of $11. Now, admittedly, there wasn't as much resistance at 11 as I was anticipating. Each time we've really seen these go $1 top to bottom, you tend to see a bit of a bid at 11 even, but I'll take that every single day of the week on the setup. What could I have done better? We all know it. I could have also grabbed that short on the rollover, but because I was trying to make other trades, I'm gonna miss it, and you can just add on a 50 break. There is something to be said, not just about averaging up, but not just about averaging down, which is getting more shares at worse prices as it goes against you. Sometimes you've actually got to get in more at a worse actual price, which can mean shorting at an even lower entry price. That's how this one could be better. But it's your trade of the day, NIO, lots of volatility across the entire EV sector, as always brought to you by Day Trade the World.
Yeah, huge move downside. We'll talk about NIO coming up here and XPEV as well. Big move southbound. Tesla not really doing as much, but we'll discuss that coming up, guys. A ton of great stuff on that this morning. That is the link to the watch list. Make sure you're joining us at 8:30, and then you get that in your inbox to help you follow along in the pre-market as we get you set for the open every single day for free. Did I mention that? It is absolutely free. Join the more than 30,000 getting that on a daily basis now. I just saw this pop up on a volume scanner while Neil was giving us a great description of NIO. Here's TDOC, still down 3.5 today, but a bit of an uptick here on volume. There was a note from Politico talking about their portfolio, Teladoc's portfolio, and how it has improved over the past quarter. So a little bit of an uptick here for TDOC. Obviously, the big one today is going to be Netflix. We'll jump into what happened with Netflix because, wow, what a monster that has been today, still holding at the top end of the range this morning after, I mean, it was almost 10 o'clock, guys, before we got a red candle even on Netflix.
Oh, goodness, yeah. And just first things first, as always, I mean, Sean is going to be back, it looks like tomorrow. Arun's filling in admirably once again for the entire day show. So thank you, everybody, for the well wishes. Just let me know if you guys hear this fan that's in front of us. You can see I'm in short sleeves. It's a little bit hot in here, just like yesterday. But if you can't hear it, then fantastic. If you can't hear it, then fantastic. If you can, I can turn it off. It's not a big deal. But look, Netflix, I can't even sit here and say that I even made money on Netflix. I was looking for, I thought when it broke 270 this morning, the numbers were fantastic. I love the fact that they're getting away from the look, sub numbers are good, but profitability is where they're at. I think the ad revenue is going to be a big thing for them as well. But when it was up this much and it took that 270 level to the downside, I really did think they were going to fall a little further. I was looking to catch bids at 250 in front of 256, and in reality, it just did not fall far enough. This dark pool wick's not really there. I think it got down to maybe a 262 or 264. Somewhere around there was the low. I was looking for that previous high on the daily at 255, 56. That's where I wanted to buy the dip. I end up not getting it. Once I've missed out on that, I'm looking for breakout trades. It made a double top. I tried that breakout. It couldn't get past 280. It halted. It stopped at 279.30. That break was at 278. And then once it stopped out, I really wasn't looking for this stock as a short trade. And lo and behold, you actually have gotten a few dollars out of it, but it's relatively strong. It's above that 270 level. It's definitely being received pretty well here, those earnings. So that gap fill was pretty muted on Netflix. It's definitely holding the market up here, but the problem, while we're red today, Netflix just isn't what it used to be in terms of its weighting. The market might be range bound because everyone's waiting for Tesla, and we'll talk about that probably a lot in the afternoon show. Tesla's not doing anything, and that needs to go. If Tesla had this kind of a day and held up when the market was trying to go down, the market probably would have climbed green by now if Tesla had showed this kind of strength against a tanking market. But Netflix doesn't really have that in anymore. I'd say it's a nothing. I might look for bounces off that 270 level. If that breaks, I would say watch out below. But for now, it's just going sideways here on Netflix.
Yeah, okay, we're talking about Netflix. Well, Han and I are just going back and forth. Apparently they're going to play basketball or whatever later, and then he's talking trash about how he's going to... yeah, he's going to do a lot of things. You know how he does. He talks a lot. He talks a lot as much as Netflix trades, right? It's been trading a lot today. So Netflix here, I had a trade earlier today, but this is the only trade that I could have potentially made. This was a 278 long, or 268 long. Into that 270 area. Then we topped around 280. Now 280 is big. Why? Because this was an area that we looked at in the pre yesterday, or in the aftermarket yesterday. Got above the aftermarket price of 278.94. I think we hit 279 something, 279.30, and then fell off again. You know everyone's looking at 280 as the double top breakout or even a double top fail. Right? But now, if we get back under 270, you can actually justify the potential of a move back down into the low 250s. Why do I say that? Well, we stalled out here between 275 and 280 yesterday. We went down in the pre-market, snapped back up, and now if we start to lose traction one more time, I think below 270 opens the door. Remember, this is why I got out earlier, because of the distribution I was seeing. Obviously, I was a little early to the exit, but at the same time, it kind of holds true. The fact that they did not take out the 280 still makes me worried about how much distribution there is between 275 and 280. So if we break 270, I'm going to take a shot on the short side, see if we can't get a move back down through the lows or the pre-market lows. And even hopefully, you know, if this market cooperates, maybe we get a move down towards 255 and change. But that's the only read. Regardless of what Tesla does, you know Netflix is setting something else up for another day. Just keep an eye on it, because whether it's 280 break to the upside or even a 270 fail down to the downside, there's a trade there. It's just a matter of paying attention and finding it when it does happen.
UAL, here we go. United up on a big report this morning as well. I mean, it was aftermarket, but we got the call at least this morning for United. Better than expected right across the board. They even projected going into the fourth quarter and Q1 of next year that we'll be back to pre-COVID levels, back to early 2019 levels as far as bookings. That's T-Doc. I was still watching it. But as far as bookings are concerned and revenue for UAL, guys, also lifting up all of the other airlines worth noting today.
Oh, man. So, look, today was sort of, you can tell, like, there was the things this morning that there was a lot of conviction into the short side, but I was always trying to grab some longs. I was trying Netflix longs at top with tight stops and UAL. So it's probably rightfully so when the market trended to the downside that all the shorts worked out fantastically, and then I couldn't find my way into the longs. But I'm not happy with how I traded UAL at all. Because in truth, when you look at it, you had the gap to the upside. The numbers were good, and there's really nothing you can complain about. The forecast also pretty strong. So you wanted to be overall bullish on the stock, at least lean that way. And it put in higher lows. It held the gap to the upside for the most part. Like it was sort of trending down, but once the market opened up right here, this is my 15-minute, it holds 39 and then kind of grinds higher. Doesn't really reject. It rejects 40 a couple times. You can see me trying to grab these breakouts at 40 even, because I was looking for that move into the 41 level and then potentially breaking that on the daily and getting out to that 200 period moving average or that 42 resistance. Like that's the expansion move that I was looking for in UAL. And rather than just range trading it, catching these bids in front of 39, dip buying the higher lows and scalping it to resistance, I decided this was going to be a bit of a breakout. But the truth be told, when you're trading this particular style, like you'll see, I'm still in CCL some, I'm still in XPeng some, and then we held NEO for most of the day. When you're doing that kind of a trade, you got to give those some room. But when the breakout doesn't go, like those all broke broke down or broke down in this particular case. When the breakout doesn't go, you've got to be able to get out of dodge. At the open, you give it more room because if it's going to move up violently, it's going to go a lot. A little bit later in the session, I tighten up those stops. The market's kind of trending, kind of looking like it could end up in a downward trend, so I give it a tighter stop. But the truth is we have a bit of an inside kind of day, and I should have been making the inside trade on UAL. On a 3-minute, it looks even worse because it holds the pre-market lows, and then you're just higher low, higher low. You could really just be buying dips off that 39 all session long. And now it feels like there's nothing to do on a UAL at all because it's not really moving at all. And 7% move to the upside. I hate to say it, I'm down on this stock today, and there was a better way to go about it.
A better way to go about it? UAL got me. One of the few names that got me today. UAL, 40, above 40. We got that little breakout / staying above. Went long, put up 50-cent risk. What does it do? You see the entry, you see the exit. I'm not the one to talk about UAL. I mean, it got me nicely. So I got in at the top, got out at the bottom, and that's that. So UAL has been essentially a horrendous trade intraday, but if you look at it from the multi-day perspective, it's just a matter of wide consolidation ranges, right? It's just, are we going to get above this top end? I thought it was enough to get above the 40. Clearly, they're expanding a little bit. Let's just see how much it requires to actually stay above 40 the second time or the third time it goes up there. But I'm not touching UAL again. The whole move was a matter of rip up, drift down, take out the 40, and then extend the play. If you can't extend it, then you're going to have to come back to it maybe in a day or two and see if it actually can extend it later on. But this market, like UAL's been going sideways, this market is waiting for Tesla. Tesla, you can see it, guys. It is absolutely just gone sideways on Tesla. Now, it's been a while. It's up 0.5%, sure, but like when I mean sideways, this is what you're getting. Pretty much after the initial drop in the morning yesterday, you're stuck in this wide range. And everyone's waiting for Tesla, market's waiting for Tesla, and once you get that move, you know that there's gonna be some hot action later on today in the aftermarket session. Keep in mind, futures are open till 4:15, and then also going into tomorrow, there's gonna be a ton of activity, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, very quiet so far today for Tesla ahead of obviously the report coming up. Here's Adobe, however, not terribly quiet today. Did give you a nice kind of retracement type of a buy here. We did break through 295. I think a lot of people were kind of eyeing this 295 in the pre-market, but it did trade below it ever so slightly. Gave you a nice move then from 295 all the way up to 303 on Adobe. Again, if you missed it, preliminary results coming out after market yesterday. If I zoom out here a little bit, you can see better over here. Better than expected for Adobe and their forward-looking statement. It wasn't really a forecast, but forward-looking statement was also pretty good heading into next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted this to break out. I just talked about CCL and UAL. We talked about CCL as well and some of the other names that are moving today. But UAL and trying to make breakouts and looking for it to trade in a new range. You had this on the daily. It was right there, like 305, 306 is a pretty big resistance level on the daily. You would have gotten there in the aftermarket, touched 305. And this was very close to engaging that breakout, and then it fell off. And, in days like today, I feel like unless you were long at the open, that 95, as Brendan was mentioning, if you're playing off that 95, that was the trade. So if you weren't making that trade, the only other opportunity was to essentially fade or short in front of that resistance at 305, which if you thought this was a relatively strong stock, sometimes it's hard to do that. If you like a stock to the upside, is a stock I want to go long today, I want to look for longs on it, then it can be difficult to say, well, I just shorted it in front of resistance until it happens. Sometimes that's what you have to do. I wasn't willing to do it over there in Adobe. And even then, you're having to get in $1 to $1.50 in front of that level. It works out, congratulations. I'd rather just slap an alert for when it gets close to that 305 again and look for when it can make that breakout. That's the trade that I'm waiting for on Adobe, so when we get it, I'd rather get in on something you have higher conviction on. Obviously, fading the high would have worked out today. Maybe we get another chance at that. I don't know if we're going to talk oil in a second, but oil's not on the rundown, but there was that big move up. Maybe the midday guys were talking about this right at the end. I wasn't really sure. I know, Arun, we were talking about this before we came back in here. Oxy just hit 69. Pressed the high day, XOM as well. Oil futures made a bit of a rally there. They're going to close in a bit here. It's still electronic trading. The pit's going to close for crude oil futures, so sometimes you can get a bit of a reversal. But if we do not hold these highs on Oxy, I was kind of looking to see what happened. I've had it up like on that break. if it was going to hold above there, maybe a chance it would continue. For now, it looks like Oxy is rejecting that break. Gold futures coming down a little bit, but wanted to make sure I got that real time because I just saw the reversal.
Yeah, Oxy's, it was quite a move, right? We were sitting underneath that broken range for the multi-day move, and now we got right back into the next leg of the upside. So Oxy's one to watch. Adobe, going back to Adobe, Oxy, crude, Exxon, all ones to watch right now with crude up almost 3.77, and it's not closed completely yet. Going back to Adobe, 305. I mean, 305, if you look at it from the 5-minute chart, you see where this market stalled in the aftermarket. 305 on the daily chart. You see where this market has stalled in the last little bit, where there's a gap. The day we fell on September the 15th, there was a gap through there. And then we tried it again on October the 6th. And now here we are back again against that 305. That's going to be the level to watch. You know, everyone's watching it. Just keep an eye on it. It is kind of starting to put in a U shape, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rotate back through. But if you do get strength, let's just say this. This is the daily too. If you do get strength above 305, there's a real good chance that we go right back into this gap here between 330 and 340, right? That's the first checkpoint. And if we clear that, it's most likely going to go to 360. But again, we got to get that rotation. We got to get the confirmation above it, above that 305. So there's definitely, just like we were looking at a UAL setting up for another day, and Tesla definitely going to be moving aftermarket. And then tomorrow, Adobe's one to watch. It's on the radar today, but don't forget about it because there's something to be done here around this 305, whether it's fading in front of it if you have a decent sell move, or even a breakout, which would be the easier trade through that 305 mark.
NEO there to kick things off this afternoon. Let's talk both NEO and XPeng. I was trying to write, there we go. Both very, very weak all day long today, just straight to the downside. We're all the way, it's unbelievable, 760 right now for XPeng, more all-time lows, 11.5%. There was this note highlighting October 24th, which is going to be their annual tech day. So they talk about I mean, last year they discussed at this mostly self-driving side and a lot of technology to come on the self-driving side. But yeah, XPeng coming up, guys, on October 24th could be a market mover. But until then, wow, look at the daily chart on XPeng.
Netflix breaking down 270.
So it looks like Netflix is breaking down. I see some people in the chat actually mentioning it just as the room turned to me. Yeah, oh my, I just missed the curl on Oxy too. Yeah, that's breaking down as well. So the market's starting to come back in here. We showed you NEO. I'll get to XPeng. This was the other one I like short. I know they're both kind of the same story and maybe the same trade, but if you see a setup that you think is like your A or A plus setup, it just, you know, forget about the fact that it happens to be two Chinese EV names. You just got to do it. And that was the case for me on XPeng. So when XPeng broke $8, the daily chart says everything you need to know about the trend. This is, the trend is your friend. One day I'm going to wake up and there's going to be a bounce in this stock and I'll want to go long. But until I see something convincing that tells me this isn't just a every time I see a short set up on XPeng, you should just have it until you lose. And you're not losing today. It broke 8 even. It came back and retested. When I was sort of saying I did not get the reload on NEO when the futures rejected 37.4, 37.40, I was getting XPeng there and I was getting CCL at that same moment. It eventually broke that 780. It has yet to get to 750. I think it's going to get there here today as long as the market rolls back over. So I'm still holding the last 10% of this. As I said, I would likely be in it, but the market's starting to come back in here. I can't tell you that Netflix is. And for those of you that aren't watching Netflix, there goes that 270 level. I should just had a stop order or something. But now that you're beneath that 270, like the strongest name in the market, well, one of the strongest names in the market, there's a few strong things out there, has now broken support and looks like it's heading back into the downside. Might be worth shorting some pops. Lower high being made on the futures as well. Just feels like we're going to have another, at this point, another rejection of a bounce in the futures to end the day. The only question I think remains, does it follow through, right? Like we rejected a reclaim of that 3,700. Do we actually follow through and break the low, or do we sit in a 20 handle range at the bottom, kind of like we've sat in the 20 handle range at the top before?
The better move right now was actually maybe to just, or the smarter move, maybe to be just waiting on the futures. Remember, they're still open when you get, after the market closes, then Tesla comes out. They're still open. It might be a little bit more volatile, well, a lot more volatile, but at the same time, they're open. So if they're sitting around certain areas that you want to work with, and Tesla comes out, once you get that news out of the way, hey, you have like a good 45 minutes to work futures positions after the equity markets close. So that might be the smarter and cheaper way than trying to figure out what to do intraday on the futures, because let's be fair. Everyone's waiting on Tesla. It's a number 3 name or number 4 name in the waiting list in the NASDAQ. So everyone's waiting for that. And this market has not decided. It's been all over the place, right? We broke through that 3,700. We went all the way down to 80, caught a bid. Now we're back at 3,700, stalling out. And it has signs that it might go down. But at the same time, we've seen this market just accelerate in 20, 30 points in one direction and not even slow down. So it's just a matter of risk at that point. Going back to NEO, Neil, you've been trading NEO all day tremendously well. It was just a consolidation breakdown around 1180, 1175, and now here you are sitting at 1070. Not my cup of tea, but damn, if you want a trend, this is the kind of trend you want because it is just in one direction. You can manage this perfectly. You're probably going to hold on to the majority of your position if you just trail out. But keep in mind, you got to have some targets out. Daily's got nothing, really. After getting through that 11-ish, 1160 area, it's got nothing. So the first target would have been pretty close to your entry, at which point you're probably not even going to take the target. And now you're just sitting pretty until 10 even as a next round number to work with. And the trend is super strong. We'll see what the imbalances look like on a NEO as we come into the end of the day. I imagine there's going to be some interest here. At 11.5% SSR, you know that. So you can only short on the offer. You can't short outright. So just be aware of that. Even if there's a large sell imbalance, SSR kind of restricts your ability of participating in that sell imbalance if you do decide to participate. So one to watch for sure.
This continues throughout this entire group, it would appear. Let's talk about Amazon a little bit. Amazon's been an interesting one today in the sense that didn't really participate in the morning. We got the sell-off, and now it's trying to get back to the upside again. This was this morning, or pre-market. They launched this insurance comparison site over in the UK. I mean, minor story at best, other than in this note, there's actually a couple of analyst notes that mention the simple fact that could this possibly end up being in North America as well? And they're just more testing it out over in the UK at this point. But anyways, as I was saying, Amazon, yeah, didn't really participate this morning, and now we're just kind of chopping around here, still down on the day.
Like I didn't really have anything great on Amazon. I shorted in front of 15, and then I got stopped out there. Like I like the 115 level, and if you traded it right at the open, it was gorgeous. Like it failed to break. It tried to get up above 115, so that was the right level. It rejected it, went down $2. There's your winning trade, but then on the way back up, it rejects it. I try shorting it again, and it stops out through the high. It breaks out. I use 115 to support. I'm able to scalp that out there, so that was a win. I got in and out flat here by leaving a stop order, but that was pretty much nothing. So it's like one win, one loss, and a nothing burger for me. Although just now, as we failed 3,700 again on the ES. So this just happened. Like we just had this little wick. I shouldn't say we failed it, but we broke 3,700, got up to like 5s and 6s, and now we're back below. So if we were to fail 3,700, we're right back at that same key price on Amazon. It's down 1.33%, which is twice what the NASDAQ is, and it's outpacing the S&P 500 as well. So you are seeing a little bit of relative weakness, despite the fact that it's at VWAP. That's another story. The market's near the lows. This is actually making higher lows, but it's down more than the market. That's a bit of a weird situation to be in, to try to short this thing, because you want something that's just weaker, maybe something trending below VWAP, but it's at that 115 level. So if we do start flushing from here, I mean, to short off 115 makes some sense. What's giving me that pause is the support that it had from the open and the higher low that it just put in. Usually I see that kind of a setup, and it's like, oh, I'm looking for longs in something like this. That would be a little bit more appealing if we actually, I'm not saying we're going to break out 3,700, but if we actually do break out from 3,700, that ends up being like a failed break of the bottom, and we start rallying from here, then longs above Amazon may be a little bit more appealing to me. At this point, I think you have to, like Arun said, like you have to wait for the futures to make a decision. Simply guessing which way you're going to go sometimes is not optimal. You'd rather see us start to make a trend off of those levels and then try to join the trend to the upside or join it to the downside. If you just make a binary guess, it's fine. You'd have defined risk. Like you could just go long, put your stop here at like 114.60. Risk 40 pennies, go short here, put your stop at like quarters or 40s, risk 40, 50 pennies that way, and then try to hold whichever direction it happens to break. But I'd rather not play that kind of guessing game with Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon's a tough one because it's a little all over the place. It's been trending down on the day. It's down 1.2%, 2%, so more than the NASDAQ, but at the same time, it's at a support zone, so it's really struggling. So a lot of the activity was obviously based on where we closed yesterday and where we're trading today, but it doesn't tell the whole story because it has been struggling below this 115. We've tried it a couple times. We even tried a long, and that did not work out for me either. But it's just one of those things where you don't have a long and you don't have enough for a short. You also don't have, the longs aren't ready, it seems, just yet, because there seems to be a decent amount of activity above this 116. So you kind of have to now wait for this. We tried this once it broke 116 the first time. We caught it on the way back down through mid 115s, and this is where we ended up. So now you're going to have to wait for this thing to settle up. And I keep going back to this, and I'm going to keep saying it time and time again today. Once Tesla has made its move, all the index names are going to go too, because then the futures market's going to go. And when the futures market goes with Tesla, then the index names are going to follow suit, right? So you're going to have Amazon, Apple, Microsoft all start moving too, because then the Qs go. Yeah, so you have a chain reaction as soon as the index starts to go. So at this point, regardless of what we say about the levels or what levels we're looking at, this entirely depends on how Tesla comes out. Amazon's levels, essentially, are we respecting Amazon's levels? Yeah. If Tesla's positive, then yes. If Tesla's negative, then no. We're going to blow through these levels, and we're going to be underneath 112 tomorrow. So it's just a matter of Tesla, what does it bring, when does it come out, and how fast of a move is it going to be? And once we get past that, we can start coming back into these index names and start making some trades.
Yeah, there you go. And there was a couple of questions in the chat throughout the day. In the morning show, when things are a little bit more active and the market's moving, sometimes we do miss things out there. And I know there was some people asking about interactive brokers. We don't trade absolutely everything. So when you're day trading or you're just a trader in general, you have to pick and choose your spots. And a lot of times volume is one of those. That's that missing piece of the puzzle. You want volatility for an opportunity to actually make something, and then you want some volume so you can execute your trades with confidence that you'll get your fills and that you can manage your risk because you'll be able to hit your stop. So not necessarily, IBKR, interactive brokers might not be the most liquid name in the world, but it is one of the stronger names in the market. And there was a question about how far it looks like it's going to be going. Gorgeous breakout for this on earnings, and there's nothing, you can't really complain about this on the daily chart either. Like, this was a $50 stock back in July, and all it's been doing is trending higher, essentially riding the 50 period on the daily, making that nice clean breakout of the 200. And then look, whether you're into your death crosses and your golden crosses, that's up to you. But when you made that cross of the 50 over the 200, which is bullish, it then breaks out on earnings and goes right to the yearly high today. So 76.66 is the high today. On the year, I think it's like 76.80 or something like that is the top. So pretty much turns around at that high. In this market, unless we start rallying from this 3,700 level, probably going to be difficult for it to make that breakout here today. But this also has room if it continues to run. Super strong name there. Usually you want to pay yourself off in front of resistance like that if you can. You can see not a lot of volume and not doing a heck of a lot. But on the daily chart, it's got room to go. If it gets through that 77, certainly room to 80 on that. It's just this might not be the environment today where we're getting a red day, it seems, for it to make that potential move. But yeah, thank you guys for all those questions there. We appreciate it. And I just wanted to go to AMD. I was trading mostly Intel today, and I never really got into AMD. There was that 58 level on a breakout. I took an Intel break when it took 58. Now it looks like that's a bit of resistance. It's kind of rejecting VWAP here. So this is another name, down 1%, kind of the same as the market, or just a little bit ahead of it. Beneath that big level at 58, which, let me go to the 15-minute and zoom out so you can see this a little bit better. Yeah, it's too far. So here's that 58 area, and you can kind of see, like, every time we've gravitated around that price, broken away from it, tried to find support, rejected for big moves in the pre-market, rejected it, broke away, and then when it broke back down, you get some acceleration beneath it. So it's a pretty solid level. Above it, there's some long opportunities. Beneath it, it's mostly shorts. If we reject this 3,700, AMD ends up being in the short bucket for me in front of that 58. Gets strong above there, then fine, I can go the other direction. And then one other one that I am looking for, Meta. Meta has had all kinds of support at 132. Last week, 132 was your top. Since it's broken there, it's had some great buying down at 132. So I want to take, if we get down to that bottom, I'll defend that long in front of the 132 even on Meta. It is also relatively strong. Stock is up 0.5% into the market being down 0.5%. I like that as well, Brennan.
Not seeing much on this at this point, but worth a note. Beyond Meat, guys, just about to take out day highs. as the market tries to roll over once again. But a nice day here for BYND, up 4% on decent volume.
I actually saw that earlier in the day when it was running up in the morning, and I looked at the price range, and this is why I'm just like, no. I looked at the price range, I'm like, this is in a range, it's up 4%, but I looked at it, I was like, wait, what? We're trading at 14, the range is there. I thought this was like maybe $1 each line. No, these are like 20-cent lines, so like it's not even that far away. So even if you get up into the 1420s, then you got to deal with 15, which is all the way up here, and change. So it's a wide wire, like it's a tight range. It looks like it's a wide range, but it's a tight range. Although it's up 4% at $14, that doesn't take a whole lot. So strong day on BYND, and I was actually surprised by the price because it's been a while since I pulled up BYND, and I'm like, did they ever do a split to get to this price, or did it really just fall off? And I'm looking at this going, yeah, no, they actually did fall off. So this was not a good trend. That's a daily trend for you guys on BYND. 4% win after that. Okay, I mean, that's not a good look at all. I mean, even if you get that rally, you get to what, 20?
That's a worse chart than C3AI.
That's that's not a good look.
We were having this debate. Look, there's nothing amusing about it, I suppose, but which is true. But like if you look at some of the pain that some of these stocks have had, that are those high growth, not making any money types of names, and then you're looking for like top to bottom, just which has had the worst run. But like as you've seen there, it hasn't even broken out on any kind of a higher time frame, and it's 39% short, depending on who you want to trust. I see anywhere from 39 to 43%. So whatever, it's highly shorted. That's all you need to care about. So when this does make a more significant break, and this isn't a lot of volume either, you can see like today is actually the lowest volume day of the week. You have to go back into, what is it, like mid last week or something like that before you get a volume day lower than this. So really, it's not a high volume day. It's not really breaking out, but you kind of understand that with that kind of a short float, at some point, these things can go. Still missing a few days of data in there. But like when it starts to go, it might be through like 16.5. It might just be a low consolidation break with some actual volume behind it. Whatever it is, this is one that should be on our radar. But the other thing that's, and I'm not ignoring it, I was just about to get to Mullen. I know a lot of people have been talking about Mullen. I have no issues discussing penny stocks. You guys know that. For those of you, if you had never watched the show, like when I started as a day trader, I'd say for about the first half a year when I first turned profitable, I was pretty much exclusively trading penny stocks, and spread trading them, sometimes catching rebates, but a lot of making a lot of gross as well. When you'd get some of those pops, fading moves, playing trends, like it was just something that I started out like get my bones with, and I don't really do it as much anymore. But Mullen, it's done 500 million shares. That's what you want to see when it's making this kind of a break. And obviously it's very strong. It looks like it got to this 42 after the breakout, and this was actually a really good consolidation break. We were just off the show when this break happened, and we actually had our meeting today. So I would have missed out on that secondary break. When I look at where it terminated, it was probably a really good shot just shorting the 40 level on the way back in when you look at the daily chart. Because the last time it tried to go, it was essentially 32, reject 40 to 45, and then the next day, basically the same range, and then flush after that. So when you came in here today, and this is more just for if you're trading this the next time you see something like this. So it goes, makes a high at 32, there's your consolidation into 30, your secondary push breaks that 32 level, right into 40, reject the 40 break, and then once everyone's looking at that same level on the daily chart, the second it can't break that, everyone's all nervous. There's your stop orders getting hit, but guess where it's holding up? It's holding up in front of that 32, 33 is your VWAP, 33 is your triple bottom. So as long as it holds this level, it's got a chance. Now, you might give it an extra cent through that 32. If it breaks this, you could be retracing those lows. But any close above 32, 33, and this might not actually be done. So it deserves to be on our radars. And here you go, XPeng. Like this stock, it's only going down. I want to be shorting pops in this if they even exist, but at this point, sometimes just hold on to the trend. 750 is the next target. I'm kind of sitting here at 53, I want to say. Yeah, I'm on 53. It hits that. If it breaks 750, I want to hold on to a piece. But as I'm watching this make another leg to the downside, slowly, NEO is catching a bit of a bid. Now, 1070 is very random, but it also happens to be exactly $1 beneath where the breakdown was. 1170 was that level on the daily chart. 1070 is where NEO is trying to make another bounce. So if this catches a bid, I have to respect the fact that it could bring XPeng with it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my chart for Netflix. You guys can see it on the screen there. I'm short Netflix below 270. We talked about that, the 270 area when it was at 272. I was like, if we get below there, I want to see if we can get a chance maybe towards the day's low and even 255 as the potential. So that's what I'm working with on Netflix for the time being. It's kind of just doing nothing. It's taking its time. I'm okay with this. The slower it goes, it doesn't bug me at all because, well, Netflix has done its own thing today, regardless of what the market has done. So let's just, work with it. And if it wants to accelerate it, we were worried about distribution earlier. Now I'm definitely worried about distribution up there. That's why I'm going for the short. So that's why we'll see if we can't get below the day's low. The low target's like 262, but a lot of this activity is going to accelerate towards the end of the day. So we'll just leave it be until we, leave it be for about an hour and see where it is and then come back to it. Market is stalling out around 3,700. And somebody was wondering, it's like, do I go, I'm going short now, I only go long? No, I go in both directions. It just depends on the read that I get from the futures. Earlier, I was going for the longs because the futures read was to the positive or to the buy side. Now it's short, so I'm thinking shorts across the board. And Netflix is just the best candidate. I'm not stepping into the futures. Well, why? Again, Tesla. Tesla is what's keeping me out right now. I'm not getting the prices that I want. I'm not getting the risk profile that I want. If I do, I will step into it. And so Tesla is going to be one of those names where once it comes out, you might be able to step into, and I said this earlier, you might be able to step into the aftermarket session, or in the futures world, it's still open. So it's still, until 5 o'clock, we're still open. 5 Eastern time, we're still open. So we can still trade it after 4 o'clock and see if we can't make some money there after Tesla's out. But for me, Netflix is the only one that I'm going to be playing with. Nothing yet. There goes Netflix through 269, so $1 in the money for the time being as the market pulls back from that 3,700. But again, market's not pulling back much. Market's barely, the rest of the stocks are barely moving, and Tesla's gone into standstill mode here. So patience is all I can say.
Yeah, and I see people in the chat there, and thanks for that. What I love about the show, hopefully you guys like it too, is we get like different perspectives. When you get to have Arun on, you get to see his read, a very patient trader. You get to see Sean scalp. Sometimes I'll be in the middle. You get Luca. Sharif loves those small caps to be sure, and you got to make sure you learn from it. But I also love the fact that we get to see a little bit from what you guys are looking at, because I just saw it was Trader Gorno in the chat just mentioning Nordstrom's pretty significant rally off the bottom. And look, it's down 1%, so it's weird. Like, it's outpacing the market to the downside, but yet has one of the strongest rallies overall. But what's more interesting is on the daily chart. Just look what happens to this stock when it challenges $20 in the last half year. I can zoom out further, but really, you had $20 support. The second it was broken, it's been resistant. So, it's a kind of trade where if you trade this stock, then you trade the $20 level. And you're working off this, and until it holds above and closes above that price for like a day or two, just double checking here. I think the one time it closed pretty much at 20, but every time it's gotten above this price, it's ended up closing below it and rejecting it. So it does have a high of the day above 20 here today, very early in the session in the morning. But this is a fade to me. If it gets in, it's not quite there yet. 1975 is only 25 pennies away. But on a percent move, like if a stock was at 197.50, which is shorted $2.50 in front of 20, if 200, if you would do that, then fine, you can start it here. I would just be looking for closer to 20. So if it presses up, it's on my radar to be sure. I just look back over at Amazon with us getting back below that 3,700 level. Amazon's still in that chop range, so if we reject 3,700, it now has a chance to break down at about 114.60. I'm looking for that to happen. And AMD, I now have an order in. This is still below VWAP. I've got 57.5 in VWAP that I can work with to get into the short side there. I always double check Intel because, heck, if I like a chip name to the short side, always have a look to see what Intel's doing. And Intel's back at that 26 level and beneath it. So I don't necessarily, you know what, I'm going to cancel. And again, AMD's probably still valid. But as I look at it, if I can get Intel inside of this range with a 26 stop, that can run all the way to the low of the day as well. And oh, by the way, XPeng did fill that bid. It is on a collision course with 750, still flushing to the downside. I might have this one, hopefully to the close. That stock just can't get out of its own way. And it's not just NEO and XPeng. Like, I can go over and show you XPeng again, which you've seen that chart. But look at Li Auto. Like Li Auto, you could trade at any one of these. It's the same setup. Li Auto breaks 18 even, and it's just chilling on the low of the day. So I'm out of NEO. I'm still in XPeng. This was just as good. It literally did not matter which one of these you hit at the open. When the market tried to go up, these were just dying. Li Auto, oddly enough, it's like the one you're not looking at might even be the best. It's very similar in that it had taken out a key level on the daily chart as well. So it had everything you were looking for a short. Brendo?
GM, not really moving the stock at all, but there was a note being circulated right now suggesting a mid-size pickup truck on the EV scale coming under the Hummer brand. So the Hummer EV SUV to come, but apparently a mid-size pickup truck under that Hummer label to come as well.
Everybody wants to make an EV. My question is this, right? You're making all these different varieties of EVs. Well, what is, like, for people that live in apartments or don't have chargers, like, how does that work out? Like, because I imagine these, like, smaller trucks aren't for people that live in houses and whatnot, right?
They have, I know, like, modern condos are getting charging stations. So like, there's a lot of infrastructure that has to come in, and that's part of what I know the administration in the States is doing, and there's talk about it here as well, and in Europe it's all the same story. So, like, that's part of the reason, like, when I got my last car, I didn't get an EV myself, and we're probably waiting for more of that infrastructure to come in, but that's where we're headed. And it's a matter of time before it fills back in there. What I would say, and this is weird, like, now that we're on this topic, but what I would actually say is maybe the bigger concern, and maybe it's not as widespread of a concern, but we just had the hurricanes in the U.S., and obviously that's a big deal. I'll be the first person to tell. My family's West Indian, so hurricanes are a part of life. My family lived for a few years in Miami as well. I spent my summers there when I was in university. Something comes through, if you have the ability to, you get out of Dodge, right? You button up, and if you can leave, you leave. Now, what happens if the power goes out? That's a bigger concern for me. It's like, what happens when you have these major power outages and everybody's using electric vehicles? I feel like that's a bigger hurdle for people in certain parts of the U.S. and the world where they might not have that same electricity security there. And it's like, well, I can fill up I can have extra storage at my house for emergencies. Yeah. Well, not everyone's got the generator. There are some concerns in that regard that I kind of think about more. Brendo?
Just be aware, guys. Fed's Kashkari speaking currently, saying the Fed could potentially, quote unquote, pause rate hikes next year. Futures downside right now, but that would be seemingly positive.
Why would we tank down on that?
So don't ever try to apply logic to this market.
Last time I was looking at people or hearing people project it was like, okay, well, they might not be raising rates back again or pausing until late or even 2024. So if it's coming next year, that's what everyone's looking for. When are they going to pause and start raising rates again? That might be it. But just a quick note here, VWAP got broken by Mullen. It's trying to support that 32. This is like, before I was going long, it had to hold this level. There's a decent chance, like, it could wipe out. It could have just run some stops here, maybe just immediately reclaim it and then maybe be a long again off 33. But that's a bit of a rug pull that I'm seeing on Mullen. This is just a little bit counter trend to what I was thinking. I would expect a note like that. I just got into Intel, so I'm not mad that this is starting to go down. But that's the kind of thing that I would have thought could rally us here. So I do want to have my eyeballs on something relatively strong, just in case we do have a quick reversal, and this can actually shock us to the upside. But for now, I'm just going to hold the three shorts we have. I pivoted from AMD to Intel because I just like Intel. Apple, that would look good on a bit of a break of like 43.50 if it got there. And if you're asking about Tesla, it's been an inside day on Tesla all day long. I had resistance at 24, and obviously support. It didn't really even get down to support, and it's been trading inside of the range. Like, this is yesterday's double bottom. It never got there. It's yesterday's top. It's reporting aftermarket, and it's now sitting in the middle. And for everyone that's asking, we don't have the report out yet. To me, you just don't trade this at all. There's going to be a trade aftermarket, obviously, for those of you that are interested in it. And 100%, this is going to be probably the most heavily traded stock, not just here on our trading floor, but probably in Day Trade the World tomorrow, when Tesla has post earnings. But right now, you're in the middle of a range. It doesn't want to go anywhere today, it seems like, as everyone's waiting for the close. So This is a trading show, and the whole idea of trading is to make trades that you have a positive expectancy on. And if you don't have a read on it or an edge, then you shouldn't be doing it. So we're not going to force trading Tesla just because they're reporting earnings. That's just how it is, and I know a lot of people want some analysis on it. It's diddling in the middle, and I just see absolutely nothing on this thing. I just saw someone say BABA flush. Well, the market's turning down a little bit here, so it wouldn't surprise me. Like BABA, I chose the EV names because I felt they were a lot weaker, but there was some news out of wow. Oh wow, yeah, this is really starting to flush to the downside. So come on, XPeng, fall further. Like, what's NIO doing as well? There was some news overnight that the potential number two for Xi is a big COVID zero guy, and that could put some pressure on their economy. But that feels like a little bit something extra as this just broke 72s here. I wonder if NIO's going to be breaking that. Yeah, NIO hasn't really broken that 1070 low. It's arbitrary, but it's consolidating down here. I got out at 11, and I haven't been back in it since. But taking 1070 would be interesting. And now the market's headed down, so I'm happy about the intel we just got into. And obviously, your short's got to be looking pretty good too there. But I just want to quickly check Pinduoduo. Yeah, Pinduoduo hasn't responded either. It's already down 7%, so it was outpacing Alibaba for most of the day, but this hasn't broken its low. Well, BABA's getting crushed. I'm not really sure specifically what just happened to BABA. Could have been a technical break at 72. PDD doesn't seem to be following suit, though watch out. This takes 54. There's still room to run. This could be a breakdown. If BABA keeps flushing and breaks 70, might have a chance to hammer Pinduoduo through 54.
Yeah, I'm just looking through. You guys were talking about interest in people buying up calls or whatever in Tesla. I was just curious about the volume. And there's a lot of volume in the 240s and 250s on the call side. On the put side, there's 200s. So you guys are playing. Whoever's playing this is playing quite the range here. If you're playing both sides of that, that's what, $20 to $30 in either direction. And you're paying the premium. You're paying the volatility premium on the option too today. Ooh, okay, sure. You do you, I guess. Whoever's doing it, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm curious how this is going to end up tomorrow. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to spectate. So that's all I want to do.
Is the thing about the aftermarket is the more expensive, like the more people are paying up premium to make their bets, and the more expensive it ends up getting, then sometimes the pre-market action gets even crazier. Because I remember that you see that happen. That's why earnings had so much volatility. Like the more options trading you're seeing in retail, some of these aftermarket moves are completely out of hand because you just get really expensive bets made, then you get caught offside, and then as people are trying to navigate that when the earnings get out, there's just not enough liquidity, and it ends up like an absolute gong show. But I just saw. Thank you for the super chat there, Martin, saying there's a tweet by Elon. Just now, so I'll check that one out. I will not let you down no matter what it takes, Elon just said. So tweet from Elon Musk 5 minutes ago. I will not let you down no matter what it takes.
Telegraphing
what it's worth.
Telegraphing a pop, maybe? Yeah. You could read into his stuff like everyone does and make an assumption, then come back to it tomorrow, be like, he told us. But did he really tell us? He just said, I will not let you down. That can mean anything.
You know if they crush it and that bad boy's up 10%.
Oh, yeah.
We're just kicking ourselves.
We should have followed the tweet, right?
Is that how we buy? Is that how you buy stock?
That's how the market operates. Now.
That being said, I did. By the way, I'm going to get just quick before I say what I was about to say. I'm going to take another leg out of CCL here. I do want to hold for 750, but that little flush in the market, all kinds of support here at 765 on CCL. This is where it broke out from yesterday, so I got to respect it. This is the other one I was rolling into, and there was that moment where I added and didn't get any more NIO. The first thing I saw was like, market's trying to go and rejects that level, and I can get more CCL here. You've got to. It's rejecting these highs, and there's a huge gap. You have to add to these. You have to hold on to a piece of them. Try and do a better job of that, but I'm going to get some out in front of that low. But as you just said it there, do you trust Elon? That didn't move the stock an ounce. Maybe it did, and that was that little 30-cent pop here, but it's doing absolutely nothing. So I would be maybe if it started going and this was moving Tesla to the upside, I would think about joining the party. I got no problems doing that. When he tweeted out that he thought, when Elon tweeted, we were live on the show. I don't know if we were on YouTube at the time. It might have been internal to Day Trade the World. But I will never forget that day because he tweets out that he thinks Tesla stock is overvalued. And if you happened, I had my tweet deck open, if you happened to catch that early, all you had to do was hit the short key. It didn't matter what price you got. If you got it within the first few seconds, it was free money, and it was one tweet. Now, should that be happening? Okay, it was on the show. I'm a little bit older, so like the time reference for things, it's like it was 2 years ago. That could be 4 years ago. I have no bloody clue. But yeah, that was on the show. But he did it, and I'm not saying you should just punch in, but the difference between that and right here, no volume spike 5 minutes ago when he sent that tweet out. When he tweeted that he thought Tesla was overvalued, you knew the stock was going haywire. It pretty much instantly. You had it up, and it was going crazy, and that was your opportunity to get in. It's doing nothing right now, so I'm not going to make a trade. So we're back to square one here, which is work with what's there. I got into Intel here. I'm assuming AMD is going to make a move. I'm going to get on the bid here in the low 80s just to make sure I can scalp some out. I'm actually going to move it up a little bit just so I can get on the bid that's filling, and then work the 70s and work the low of the day. I feel like this is the same thing I did yesterday, but you know what? Who cares? If we're going to hold in the 20-handle range, then find something you can short in the top of the range and bank on it, or find something you can go long in the bottom of the range and bank on that, because outside of that, there's pretty much nothing moving. I mean, Alibaba, which there's no news on this right now. So Baba's just broke 71, continuing lower. I don't want to chase this here. We're going to go to Brendan in a quick second. I don't want to chase it, but if it continues, then maybe PDD is the play. Brendo?
If SOBR just popping back up on volume here. This had a huge ugly candle during Prad show this afternoon. Huge flush through to $3, but just pop back up on volume. Tried to downtick again, guys. Just a heads up on Sober.
So Sober, yeah, that death candle on Sober. First of all, it's an interesting concept what they're doing there, and definitely worth a look there for like one of those like long-term shot plays. I think it's interesting on those lines. But why I'm going to pin Duo is there's nothing. I don't really see anything to work with outside of even dollar levels on Alibaba, and I don't really know why it's falling either. So when I look at it as a sympathy play, I just say to myself, okay, well, if it continues to fall and I don't like chasing the bottoms and there's downward pressure on the space, well, this is the opportunity that I'm getting in Pinduoduo. Like you can break this consolidation lower and has tons of room to the bottom, which would be another $1 lower than that. So there's something to work off of where you get a bit of a breakdown. I mean, the other side works. Baba just comes right back to 72s as if nothing happened, then PDD could end up being a jailbreak to the long side. But until that happens, we're going to continue ringing the register as Intel flushes itself down the toilet over and over again. And heck, someone just said in the chat it could be China selling bonds. I don't know.
A lot of the guys in the chat, or the people in the chat, guys and gals, a lot of people in the chat are taking that tweet from Elon as a potentially negative thing. I mean, speculate all we want, but we'll find out in just over an hour, right? So we'll see how this all plays out, regardless of what it is, regardless of whether it's great, not, guidance is better, lower, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Guys, explain that logic.
It's just going to be an interesting trade to be made, period. That's it. There's going to be a ton of movement, and the only way I would suggest is if you don't trade aftermarket and you're comfortable trading the futures, maybe dip into that, but be careful because those will be whipping around quite a bit as well because of the weight that Tesla has. So just be aware that you may not be able to directly participate in Tesla. You can indirectly participate through the indexes. Futures market open until 5 p.m. Eastern time. So that's still an option for the people that have access, that have the margin, have all that stuff. But if you don't, just come back tomorrow, deal with it tomorrow. Sean's here, he loves Tesla. Neil, all over this today. They're going to be all over Tesla and Netflix, I imagine, tomorrow.
Yeah.
When you guys are back together, right?
There's no question, but someone just asked in the chat, do I think Neil will have sympathy to Tesla? So I used to look at Tesla like the futures for any of the EV plays I would make. That just hasn't been as true lately, and I don't know how much, not to show the chart again and sort of go over the same thing and wax poetic about it, but Tesla's chart doesn't look like this today. And Tesla's daily chart doesn't look like this either. And it's been ever since this downward trend started on NIO, maybe not as bad because it was looking like relatively strong for a bit. But ever since that started happening, it was just a clear downward trend with no end in sight, or I put LIO because I was just looking at NEO, so of course that's in my head, and then I screw that one up. But ever since this downward trend happened, these have been on their own. And so I don't know that I would just immediately jump to bad for Tesla, NEO's going down. Well, it's already going down. But good for Tesla, NEO's going to catch balance. It might, but I don't think you can just make it look as easy as that, because what probably matters to them and talking about NEO's expansion out in Europe where they're trying to go, that's going to matter a heck of a lot. They're in a different stage. The amount of funding they have, production is just vastly different between them. Valuations are obviously different as well, but they have not been moving together for quite some time now, so I wouldn't expect that to necessarily start happening. I wouldn't ignore it altogether either, but I don't know if you can go down to that well. Coming back over to some things that are moving, Amazon, like look at this. Look, I should just be shorting 115 because at least I can sit there risking 20 cents and scalping it. So we're back below 3,700. I'm going to pop offers in front of 114, 115. If this is the game that the market's going to do, then I'm just going to sit here waiting for my fills. Did it get it? There it goes. See, I hit enter like 2 or 3 seconds ago. A bit of a lag there. My order went out immediately, but actually showing it up was a bit of a lag. So in front of VWAP, in front of this 115, it's about 115.10, the recent high. I'll fade any pops into it, hold the shorts that we got. Intel's starting to work and roll over here. So it makes another leg down, another like 7 to 10 cents. I'll get another bid out there. As this is what we want to do, slowly bleed to the downside, then all you can do is sit in your shorts. If you took AMD, basically the same thing as Intel. I just happen to prefer Intel at that 26 level, but AMD making the same move. So whether you took AMD when I was talking about it or Intel, basically the same thing. Alibaba continues to flush to that downside, so it looks like this is going to happen. I'm going to get my stop in on Pinduoduo because it just continues to go, and I don't really know what's happening here with it, but Pinduoduo is about to break the low of the day, so hopefully it can just sort of follow suit, and then I can watch BABA for any kind of a turn. It still hasn't broken the low of the day, so I don't really understand. Usually there's a bit of a more close relationship with these two names. Let me just look at JD.com here for a second. Sorry, I'm kind of working through this live because I have no idea what's happening with Alibaba. Yeah, this isn't breaking the low of the day either. It's weaker than the pair, but JD, oh goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so look, JD breaks 40, it gets ugly.
Baba's getting close to that.
And Baba's getting close to the low. I might like JD.com breaking the low better than I like Pinduoduo when I watch this. So, yeah, I'll take my shot. It was 6 cents away from the low of the day on JD.com. But then look at this. This is the same kind of double bottom at 40.50, it looks like, or actually maybe a little bit lower, at 40.70. So you break this low, you're breaking the low on the daily from March. That's how NEO set up this morning as well. It's later on in the session, it's following BABA, so I have to watch BABA like a hawk, but I'll take JD instead.
Yeah, I'm just going through this, and obviously BABA, once it gets closer and closer to 70, at some point it just gets magnetized, right? Right now we're at 70.65. There's still a chance that we just bounce. But once we get close enough, I don't know what the orbit on 70 looks like. It could be 70.30, 70.25, but once we get to a specific price, everyone's just gonna be like, let's take a look at 70. So it just moves faster towards that. So for now, it does look like it wants to bounce off 70.5. A name that we haven't talked, well, I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but a name that I haven't looked at in a while, Moderna having a pretty rough day and a pretty simple trade if you're watching it, unfortunately. It's down 8% on the day, $10, down to 123 and change. Easy trade would have been right off the open through 131. Why? Consolidation. Consolidation breakout. It's been support. But again, you got to mark these off and you got to have them on your radar well ahead of time. So when it gets down there, you actually make the trade. And that's why when we get around this time of day, and I don't have that many positions, I start marking off levels for future reference, right? Like Moderna, I may not have had a trade to make on it in the last couple of days, but if I was watching Moderna, 131 looks like a pretty good breakout. Then today happens, you get that 131 breakout, and there goes $8, right? So set up the next set of trades. Don't just waste your time, and be like, okay, let's just hope this works out. Once you've taken your trade, let it do its thing, right? And you just find the next set of trades that you can potentially work. If you're running out of time towards the end of the day to take any more trades for today, set it up for tomorrow as the market now pops from that 3690 area, now working back up into 3700. Late session move back up, but it's only 5 points. We've been here before. We spent pretty much the afternoon here below 3700. No traction on either side. Can't get selling done, can't get buying done. Makes sense. Everybody's waiting on Tesla, so we'll wait on Tesla. I took a quick look on what the timing of that release should be. It says 4:05, but we've seen it happen in a window, not necessarily exactly at 4:05. Right. The window is like pretty much from 4 to 4:05, right? That's the window where they could release it at any moment. So just be aware that it should be out by the time we hit 4:05, based on what I'm seeing, but it's up to the company to release when they want. So if we have a confirmed, or what looks like a confirmed time, but that's dependent entirely on whether the company wants to follow that or not. And there goes BABA again, back towards 70,
it's still
50.
going down.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you guys are asking like what's going on with Alibaba. Look, I'm not going to make something up, man. If I knew, I would tell you. Brendan is all over it. I can tell you that right now. And the other thing, just you guys should know that if you watch the show long enough, you do know this to be true. Brendan is not going to report like abject speculation from some random person tweeting, right? Like if he says something, then he's going to make sure that it's like some actual juice behind it and a real reason for the move. But we're pretty close to these lows on JD. This just a cautionary note on this trade. Like this is shorting the low of the day on a stock down 9%. While I've just watched Alibaba drop another $1.50, and this is barely even, it's moved a little bit here. Pinduoduo's not moving either. So it is a bit of a risky trade. But anytime I take a breakout trade or a breakdown trade, it's a tighter stop. Max give it to 41. Depending on what Bob is doing, I could tighten that stop up to 20 cents, to be honest with you. I know the entire sector is down today, and the reason I'm saying what's going on with Alibaba, I'm not saying it hasn't trended like everything else, but unlike everything else, it just broke down in a big way on volume, big volume spike that I'm not seeing anywhere else. That being said, it is a decent chance it could just be a technical break. It could have just broken 72. Once it was below there, it could have been like some stops got run, some sell algos got triggered down at that price. It's a significant level on the daily as well. Like you're beneath a lot of support on the stock headed towards 70. Very possible it's just a technical break. If it follows through, I want to be finding something that's lagging the move if I can. That's why I'm going to JD, because it's making a potential break of a similar level on the daily chart. PDD, on the other hand, I started here with Pinduoduo, but the daily chart's very different. You know, it could break 50. It breaks 54, we're into 52, it breaks 52. So like this is a series of higher lows. And just as a tidbit, there's a trader, I won't say his name or anything, but there's a trader I respect that's been around day trade the world for quite some time. We were talking about sort of this sector, like when it's a long day, the one he happens to like is Pinduoduo, and he said that to me back in like May. So I tend to respect that. Like if I'm looking long in the sector, sometimes this is the one you want to go to. Not that it always has the most explosive moves, but if you can't tell that this is a better looking chart than some of the other names in the Chinese sector, well, I don't know what chart you're looking at. A lot of those are at the bottom right. This one at least holding up with some higher lows. It's above the 200 period moving average. And a couple of days ago, so yesterday, it was above the 50 period. How many stocks can you say that of that's in that space? Everything is kind of at that bottom there where you have some strength in PDD. So I'm going back over to JD.com.
I'm still looking for names that could potentially set the next set of trades on. Obviously, you see Netflix all over the place, bounced just above 270, almost at 271, I think it was close to, and then now it's back underneath 270. So we're out of the money, in the money. Now we're up 17 cents. The story ain't done with Netflix. There's a lot to be done before the end of the day because they're digesting a ton of volume. So they'll handle themselves. Tesla obviously doing the same thing. Futures market, hey, look at that. We're right back to where we were earlier when we bounced from 290. Now we're back at 290, or not 290, 3690. Now we're right back to 3691 after bouncing off those 3700s. I'm going to stop talking about the futures until we get to the end of the day and we get into not earnings, but Tesla specifically, as we start getting more and more activity closer to the end of the day, 350 onwards, because we'll have the imbalances out at that point. So we'll get a pretty good indication of how the pressure is going to be going into the end of the day, and then Tesla right at the end, right? So I'm setting up the next set of trades. I'm going through my list. What do I have? GNRC had a rough go of it today. Don't know the news on it. I just see the chart, and it's down 25%, almost 25%, straight up like destruction. GNRC, Generac Holdings. It opened somewhere around 128 and just fell off immediately, and the easy trade was a 120 break. Again, you got to get these names written down so you can actually. 120 break would have been an easy trade if you saw it, right? That's just one of those things where trade ideas comes into play. It's going to catch these moves fairly quickly. So if you don't have it up, if you don't have an alert up, Trade Ideas, our partner, sponsor, whatever, they've got the system up. These guys, Sean, Neil, Pratt even, Sharif, and so all four computers that are on camera have Trade Ideas set up, and I'm sure you can set up like a breakdown consolidation breakdown on a 30-minute or something.
Yeah, we all
like
have.
that.
So we talked about this before. We all have different layouts, and we've gotten this question a bunch. So if you are interested, you can. If you go to Michael Noss on Twitter or either one of us, there's an easy way. You can just it's a cloud file that has each of our layouts. Mine's very similar to one of the ones Brendan uses. But yeah, I have some like high of the day momentum scanners. You guys know I like up and down gaps, so I want to make sure that I'm seeing all those in the morning. And I use the same, some of the gainers from the open racers that I know Trader Pratt looks at a heck of a lot. So if you're interested in that layout, just hit us all up. Sean has a slightly different one. Brendan's got his own. Well, there's an easy way that I think we'll be able to, anybody that sits in one of our seats, like if you sit in my seat, like if Luke is here for a day, he'd just be able to simply use mine. Like there's nothing to hide. Right, dude, why would I sit there hiding a scanner? Like anybody can have that at Trade Ideas. But I wanted to come back to Mullen for a quick second. So it got below that 30. It got below that 33 in VWAP. It's trying to challenge that 32. So you're getting a bit of a battle here. That gets one to the south side. I just think there's room for it to be able to fall. Like that was that line in the sand at 33. So if it breaks down from here, I would be looking for a possible entry short. I have to pay for locates on this. It's not going to be free to short Mullen, I don't think. We probably have to pay for locates. So we'll go ahead and probably do that as we continue to the downside. It's weird. Like now Baba's continuing to the downside. And then I'm looking over at JD, which I was about to look for a break of the low, and JD's popping. And this just got more weird for me because Baba is retesting some of the lows pretty much on the low of the day, and JD's catching a bit of a bid. That's just, I don't really love when I see that if I'm trying to make a sympathy play. The play could just be a continuation on Alibaba. And if anything, if Baba doesn't break the low, now I just want to kind of scalp the lows on JD.com, to be honest with you. The market did try to go lower. I've been sitting on the bit of meta. I didn't get 132 quarters. That's where I was sitting in front of it. But if we're going to be inside the range, Meta wants to hold that low, I'm not going to split hairs about it. I'll just step up a little bit and try to catch these bids because that was the name I wanted to be buying on a dip in front of its low of the day. And if I can't get it exactly, look, if it's not going to hit the low of the day, then I'll step in where it found some support there at 132.5. So Meta showing some signs of strength relative to the market. And we're right back at 3,700. So if that's going to be the case, and we're going to kind of diddle in this middle, then I want something I can have to the long side. So just going to adjust some orders there to grab some longs on any kind of a dip in Meta. That makes some sense. But Alibaba, no bid. It just can't seem to bounce that far. The market's trying to go here, and it continues to flush. This could mean that breakdown could just have a lot of people caught and running to the exits, which means 70 could be in play. Market continues to rally and this can't go, then on any reversal of the market, you want to be shorting Alibaba and maybe just stick with Alibaba in general. Tesla, maybe just a delayed reaction from Elon. Now it's starting to go.
It's just the market. It's going up with the market.
It's going up with the market, but I didn't think there was anything negative about the Elon tweet there. But Tesla went $1 to the upside. It's just following the market.
Yeah, but I mean, $1 inside of a range, it really is just, take it with a grain of salt. It's $1, but at the same time, you're stuck in a range. So your limited upside is right there. Until we get to the end of the day, after imbalances closer to 4 o'clock, you're going to get probably some wild action in terms of volume. So some people wondering, are we on after hours when Tesla comes out? I mean, we don't really end the show right at 4. So I imagine if Tesla comes out in the first few minutes, we're probably still on. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to hold it on.
We try to stick around as long as we can. I will be the first person to admit my wife is in the office today, so I need to get home fast enough to pick up my daughter from school. So I can't linger that long. But I don't think, usually when it comes out early enough, it's like you get it before 4 or 5. So if we're dragging things along and Fahad's complaining to us about that, then sometimes you get that report and it does come out there and we'll get it to you. But either way, like you've seen us do it before, but if it really does linger on and we don't get it, then we have to come off air. We mean to go to 4 o'clock. You see us give it a little bit longer after that every single day just to have some fun with you guys. But generally speaking, we'll keep it as long as we can, but within reason. Now Baba is starting to pop. This gets pretty enticing here. If the market starts to roll up, it's just, if it gets anywhere near that 72, that's an obvious fade at that price. It could also reject 71 here. So sometimes you just go to what is actually moving. No need to play JD.com or anything. That's getting close to 41 though. If you like 41 on JD or you like 71 on Baba, that's happening at the same time. So this fades at 71 and can't seem to break out. Then I might want to jump into the Baba short. It's the only thing moving. So if you're not trading this, you're waiting for something to happen or holding on to shorts that are working for you. And someone said it in the chat, I am just hanging on to CCL. It's going to be pretty binary. We either break this going into the close and I get some 75s, or it trails me out right here at 775. So trailing stop, 10 cents higher essentially, target down at 750. You know, when you're holding on to the last piece of the trade, there's nothing else to do. The short was this morning. I'm not shorting it at the bottom, and it's probably not going to make, if it makes a move up here, I probably don't want to get into it and fade that. So it's trailing stop at 775. Otherwise, I get out if it breaks down to 750.
Yeah, Fahad's not going anywhere. He's got nothing to do except he's trying to play basketball against these guys. So you better ask him about how that goes down today, because he says that he's going to break their ankles and he's going to make them cry. And there was a lot of trash talking. So just follow up.
But Fahad's better than everybody on the floor at basketball. I don't know how many people, I don't know how many ankles he's breaking or how much humiliation he's putting on, but he's better than any basketball player on the floor. I'll tell you.
Have you seen him play?
Like here's, I willingly put my pride on the line in bowling Fahad, who never bowled before, against Lucas, so that was an easy bet. But I would do the same thing for basketball. Anybody out here, I will stake Fahad against anybody on this floor for basketball. No questions asked. And I watched like 5 minutes of video of him against Lucas, and that's all I needed to see. Fahad versus, in basketball and basketball alone. All the other nonsense he talks about, that's fine. But for basketball, he's taken, and that includes you, Arun.
I didn't say I was a good basketball player. So
okay, but I'm just letting you know that includes you too. Like it doesn't matter. The guy, he can ball. Okay. He has legit game. Fahad can ball. He probably takes some of you guys out. I don't know how much you guys play basketball. The guy's got some game. It is what it is.
I mean,
he can play.
Sure. Okay. We'll just leave it be.
Like you sound like you don't believe it. That's just.
I mean. Okay.
The market's running now, by the way.
Yeah, it's running to the upside. He says something about how he handles Lucas like a 2-year-old. I'm just like, show me the video. I never heard it. I never saw the video. So to me,
you need to see the video.
No, I mean, until I see the video, I'm kind of just be like, okay.
You guys saw the video, right? We played that for you guys. You all saw the video. He handled himself.
Yeah, he did? Okay.
Of course he did, dude.
Okay,
he handled himself.
Okay. Well, he's not here to defend himself, so we'll just let that go. As the market bounces up to the upside, now we've been up and down. I'm going to pull this out to the 1 minute chart.
Come on, now I get
this is what we did in the last few minutes. Up to 99, down to 91, back and forth. Then finally up to 99. Now we're breaking up 4 or 5 points into the end of the day. What is it, 315? There should be some more action around 330 as we get closer to the imbalances. That should bring some activity. Programs probably come on around 330, 335 as well. So that's another time frame to watch. So things are starting to spike up a little bit. Obviously, we're starting to see Netflix go up as well. Damn it, why now? Really? You can run the programs to the sell side, but nope. Up we go to 272 after
I just got Amazon.
Underneath.
Short.
Long?
Shorts. The short, man.
Yeah.
Brendo, what's up, bud?
VZIO, TV maker, Vizio, just popping up here on volume, guys. There was a note from the International Trade Commission, apparently investigating this one, Vizio, but I'm not entirely sure why it's going up on this, but huge volume coming into VZIO.
There's lots of times I'm not sure why stocks are going up on certain news, so you're not alone on that, Brendan. And I'll say a thank you for him right there. Vanilla Ice in the chat saying Arun needs to be on the show every day. Well, he is. So he does the futures update every single morning. So he's on the show every single day. But thank you so much. He's a valuable member of the team. We all know him, and we all have always believed that from the outset. That's why we try to get him on when we can, to be sure. And then the more nice things you say, the more likely he is to come on more often. I don't know.
Here's the issue, and this is the issue that I have with like the camera stuff, right? Is that like because there's so much going on, and I trade one thing, and I trade it like I just focus on that the futures market. So when I'm really focused, that's why a lot of times when you get when Fahad or Lucas puts the camera on me, I'm not paying attention. I'm kind of thinking of what it is that I'm reading and whatnot, and that's the issue. If I'm focusing on that, I can't be talking to you guys like, explaining things and all that stuff, which is what you guys deserve. So that's where the issue is. You're better off where guys are multitasking better, I guess is the word. So that's why, I come on when one of these guys is on vacation, whether it's Neil or Sean or Brendan. So that's kind of where it is right now, vacation or sick days. Sean's back tomorrow. For all you guys who have been missing out on the animations, because I don't know if you've hit an animation today, because I don't have anything set up at all. Like, I'm zero animation. I don't even know where my one animation is. There you go. For everyone who's been asking for an animation, you guys are getting
We'll do that one. We'll do this one because like I'm sitting here like short 115 on Amazon. Don't do it on the way down. It bounces, it goes $1, bounces, and then sort of just take it on the way back upside, which that's always more fun, right? Like you're sitting around waiting for that perfect trade or waiting for that entry price. You don't take it. You know, and I even said this, it's like, oh, you just wait for it to break in either direction. I talked myself out of that trade. Let it move to the downside, let the market try to pick a direction. But now we're back above 3,700 when you get it in the face, and we have a chance to break out to that upside. Intel, similar story, was getting out, looking pretty solid. Now it's back to VWAP. My stop will be same thing. I just sort of reloaded what I got out of it, and then I'll have the same stop sitting there at 26. So not a heck of a lot's changed with Intel. But guess what else is actually recovering here? Alibaba's recovering to the upside. Maybe it was just a long off. There was nothing significant. If it was at 70 even, I might have taken a shot at Alibaba to the long side. It doesn't curl at 71. It just continues higher. If it gets to 72, there's probably nothing standing in the way of me shorting at 70. I almost won't care. If it gets to 72, I'll just take a shot at it. And then JD, which just because it didn't break that low doesn't mean I don't like that break. You're still, everything about this trade is still the same. The trend stinks. You've got the significant 40 level on the daily chart there. 40.60 is the actual low today. It breaks that or breaks 40. I'll be right back here tomorrow on this stock. Got it. You have to. Like, that's just too big of a level. And if you lose trading it, then so be it, right? Like, if you lose trading that, then that's fine. If there was 100% chance today that short on NIO, if we break it 12, if it was CCL or it was NIO, that was a hill worth dying on. And you've got to be willing to say that sometimes because that's a short setup that you like. And then that'll be the same thing probably for JD if it breaks. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to. Not to distract from what I anticipate is going to be the biggest opportunity tomorrow. It might not be the biggest trade P&L wise, but it'll certainly be the biggest opportunity taken, regardless of whether it works out or not, or what kind of a setup we end up seeing, because we haven't seen earnings yet. But Tesla is now finally breaking out. This is 223, and this is 223, and there we go. Back here, pre-market early levels, that was 223. So as the market picks 37 northbound, I'm going to take a shot at breaking Tesla 223. I'm not saying it has to go or that it's a perfect trade. And yes, if you just went long when Elon made that tweet, congratulations to you. I briefly thought about it. No volume was happening, so it's probably a mistake. If it now dips, I'm going to be buying that dip because as long as we're above 3,700, I'll try to play this trend to the upside. But the next thing to happen is a break upside, and you got to have a bit of a quick exit. You guys saw what happened to me on Twitter yesterday. Shorting in front of 52 was working pretty well. I reversed into the long and gave it back in, I'd say, about a half a second. So that was maybe like a second and a half. Not a half, it was a second and a half. So like that, everything made on the short was out, just like that, taking a late day breakout. So late day breakouts are tricky. Sometimes you have to have a quick trigger finger to get out of it. But 223, I'm with you. I'll take that shot.
Yeah, like I said earlier, guys, I'm just looking for the next set of trades, and there might be one for you guys to take a look at, do your own analysis on it, but I'm just going to point it out. Abbott, ABT, nice little break through the low, pops back in. That's the 30-minute, or that's the daily, and this is what the 5 looks like, or forget 5. This is what the 30 looks like. So a nice little move back up, back above 98 now. So keep an eye on Abbott against the low. It does look like, although after a big drop, it does look like it's stabilizing a little bit with the potential bottoming out on the daily as well. Brendan.
A few people mentioning this already, but worth a note, guys. Twitter back to the upside here, back above 51.80, 51.90 there on volume. Not seeing anything yet, but Elon being Elon again, maybe.
I ain't falling for that trap. I'm not playing. I'm not trading Twitter at the end. If I see a big level, like maybe I can short in front of it. But Tesla, that's what I want to talk about. Tesla just pulled back a little bit, so maybe the market's starting to reject as it's following Tesla. That means we are starting to come back down here on Amazon. And where's my first bid? I want to move this one, get inside of this cluster. What I don't want to have happen is you end up bouncing off 3,700. And I haven't gotten anything out on the way back to the downside. So I don't want that to happen to me on Amazon. So I'm trying to get on the bid. Like, really? Like, what happens? Here you go. Am I going to get that, Phil? All right, now I'm just going to wait at 60s. But, like, either way, like, I don't want this to hold essentially here while we hold 3,700, and then something, hold 3,700 and break higher on the ES, which is that big line in the sand, and I've made nothing on that short as it tried to come back in and give me a chance to be able to get out. So when you're scalping, it's not just about price levels. If it was only about price levels, I would have just left the bids down here in the 40 range. Right, like give it to that next level down, but I'm watching the futures here in this case. And if we're not going to hold those, if we're going to hold that level on the bid, I have to respect it and get out where I can instead of where I want to for some profit. So we'll ring the register on that one. Hopefully we're looking for the markets down, and then go back to the well over on Alibaba. So BABA right back at that 71. It's projected 71.5. It clearly didn't get to 72. So the shorts are still in play here. You're beneath that 72 level. If it goes sideways from here, fair enough, I might not do much. If it breaks down below 71, and then I'll probably look to be shorting it if we hold below that price. And I still have my order to go short on the low of the day break on JD. The closer we get to the close, I might have to cancel that because late day breaks, as I said, not always the best in the world. So the later you get, the closer you get to imbalances in the close, the less I like shorting the low of the day, longing the high of the day. It doesn't usually end well if it's within the last 10, 15 minutes of the session.
Yeah, as this market now decides that it wants to come off that 07 or 06, wherever we were, now we're back at 01, 02. It's just bouncing around. I mean, that's not even a move at this point. It's just noise, really. Like our fans, if you can hear our fans or if you can hear the trading floor, we're trying to figure it out. I don't think we have any open mics.
Turn this off.
That's already off. It's
this
the other
one's
one.
Off? It's the other one?
Yeah, it's the other one.
I think they fixed the heat prong.
Yeah, so, I mean, our mics actually just be 3 of us. I don't think there's any other live mics, but we can double check that. I'm sure Fahad and Lucas will be all over that. But for the most part, it's just we have really good mics, apparently. We have really good mics now, so you can actually hear us. But Netflix coming down, and my whole thing about intraday trading, because that's what we are at the prop floor, you got to be flat by 4, right? By the time the equities close, you can participate in the final print, but by the time you get to 4 o'clock, you've got to be flat. So you really can't carry anything on overnight into tomorrow. So do you really want, for me, I'm like, do I really want to step into a brand new trade with 20 minutes? And the reason I say 20 minutes is because imbalances come out at 350. So you need the move to happen in 20 minutes, at which point the imbalances take over and then push the stock in the direction that it comes out in, right? So I don't know if that's enough time for me to work a position, especially the way I trade. Everyone trades differently. So if you're trading momentum, quick breaks, then obviously you might be able to find something. But for now, I'm going to say no to finding any trades, or not finding trades, but taking any trades now. Finding trades, I can set them up for another day. I got another one for you guys. DHR looks like it's bouncing off these low 240s, 250s, and now if we can get above 256, I mean, that's back open into the 260s. So keep an eye on DHR. I'm just going to give you guys stocks to work with.
Right? Well, I own shares of Danaher. So it's one I actually track that stock a little bit more for it's more like a long-term kind of thing. So it's a relatively expensive PE healthcare name, and it's not like a big dividend player, but they're like a conglomerate, and they do a lot of acquisitions, which they're really really good at making acquisitions as well there. And it's a bit of more of a growth play in the healthcare sector. So maybe I'd say fundamentally UNH is maybe a little bit better than them, but as a growth play, if we do get a recovery, that's what I'd load into when I think we're turning that corner. I'd be picking up more of that. But that's just me out there. And that 250 level has been a good one, so I know it's at a good price. Tesla pulling back in. We're back below that. We're back below that 3,700 mark. And I just got the one long, finally a long this afternoon, and it's Meta off its lows. Brendo?
Just be aware, guys. Kashkari finished speaking. Now we get Bullard making some comments. So heads up on the overall market. There's also this one still making moves. AMPX was among those that popped up when the Biden administration came out today and announced that additional funding for the battery side of things and mining for batteries. So huge move here initially. Mentioned it before we came on there. But another move here for AMPX taking out the highs.
Yeah, this was actually in the chat earlier. I don't know if it was from Kai, Caitlin, or somebody else, but this has been in the chat, and this is not just the show about watching us, but also the chat has some great ideas. You guys are all over this because this was in early in the chat, and now it's at $10 in the last little bit. So quite the move, guys, for anyone who was participating around the 80 even mark, and now you're up $2 already, 25% payout already, and the day's not even done. It's been an hour. Markets, here we go. Back to the downside now, below 3,700, back towards that 36.90-ish, 95, 92, 93, whatever, that area where we've been bouncing all over the place. So another rubber band move, up, down. I'm not, at this point, let me just go to the 1 minute chart. This is essentially what you're dealing with, drift down, and then rubber band action right through here, and then we break through up, now we're back down. It wouldn't surprise me in the next 5 minutes if we're back up 5-6 points, right? So that's the kind of
that would be
activity you're
nice.
getting.
You know what's frustrating? It's like I got that fill, and then I'm like, why did I just get that violent fill on Meta, which was holding some strength? It's like really like because Bullard's usually more of the downer for the markets a lot of time. It is what it is, but that's exactly the second that news came out. That's me getting filled on the low, which I was sitting there waiting. I wanted to trade. Sometimes it's how you get the trade that tempers your expectations with it, and that's not a fantastic way to get into that trade. All that being said, what it does mean is Intel reload. That'll start working as it goes timber, and obviously, I mean, Amazon, that's starting to break the channel to the downside. As a matter of fact, look, I should just start canceling and maybe work back a little bit further away on Amazon here, because I should give it some more room. Like if it's going to come down crashing here, it's now 330 where you're going to get an early look on some of those imbalances. I should try to give it to that full 114 area just to be able to take some of that to the downside. CCL, I've been in this the entire time, but it's getting close to that time where you know what to get off the pot. This is like the 5th time it's testing this bottom. If it doesn't break it here, I got to get out of this and just take the win where it is. Very similar with XPeng. In all of that for Alibaba, XPeng didn't break 750. 750 was the target, so I'm just going to trail this to 760. I'll get on the bid in front of the 50s. It's at that time of day. If it breaks it, fair enough. It's unlikely to at this point. And if we get back above 760, I'm going to get out of XPeng here. So it is that you can try to hold as long as you want. You try to take those bigger wins when you're holding on to that last piece, 10, 20%. But at some point, you got to give it up, throw a trail, do whatever you do there, guys. So Crash on Cam just asked a question here. Do you owe Day Trade the World money if you lose on a trade? How does it work? So on a prop floor, you get paid out a commission and you're trading the firm's capital. So it actually does mean, believe it or not, no, you do not owe the firm any money. If you have, like say you're positive 1 month and then you lose the next month, well, the amount that you're up, that's your money to the extent that you're up on a month. So if you're up like 19 trading days in a row, on the 20th you lose, you've lost them. It just takes away from your P&L of the month that you were up in that session. But if you have a negative month, no, you're not cutting them a check. That is not how a prop floor works. If there are prop floors that work like that, then that's not this prop, that's not Day Trade the World, and it's not one that I'm familiar with. So the firm takes a risk on you. That's why you have daily loss limits. You have buying power limits. They're all based on performance. That's how risk gets managed. When you start out, you have to earn the right to trade the firm's capital. You have to earn the right to get more buying power based on performance. And there's a shutdown clock. You pass it. You have to get out of your position by a certain time. There are a lot of risk parameters that you wouldn't see as a retail day trader. But then the flip side of it is when you're down, you aren't cutting a check at the end of it. So there's pluses and minuses to it. Obviously, I've been sitting on a prop floor for 20 years in this format, so I have a bit of a bias to thinking it's a good way to be a trader. Clearly, take it with a grain of salt. That's what I think. It's what I've chosen to do. A lot of people have asked us, why don't you just trade your own account, retail account? It's because I like this better. It gives you the risk control. Like there's internal and external risk management, right? So internal means that you have to be the one to draw yourself back and control your risk at all moments. I'm taking too much risk. I need to get out of this trade. And it's a great skill that you do have to develop, but you're aided with that on a prop floor because you have that external risk control that says, if you go long and XPeng at like $8, it's gonna hold that 8, you just hold it. At some point you're gonna hit your shutdown and it's gonna liquidate you out. And it'll make the decision for you automatically on the system. And every trader has to deal with that at some certain price level. That's the reality. When you're trading a retail account, you can get a margin call. I guess that's part of it. But to a certain extent, you can just keep piling more in and keep losing more if you want to go ahead and do that. Every single day, you walk in with a loss limit at Day Trade the World. And that, to me, it's a good way to learn some discipline while you're trading. To go back to said trading, I said I'd look for some dips on Tesla. Here's Tesla into VWAP. So Meta didn't work out. The shorts to start, it's not to say that I have to have longs in here but I just saw this bounce at 221 with this little level here at 220.5, so I can risk about 50 to 60 cents on Tesla, but the shorts are what's printing here. So rather than sort of celebrate them, I wanted to move on to the next. That was Meta, wick me out at the bottom and then just come right back up to the top. I guess I could be getting back into Meta. I like the Tesla dip buy going into earnings after the strong move it made. So if it can hold this range, I want to scalp it back into 222. We'll hang on to the shorts because they're working, but I have trailing stops on all of them as we're, 15 minutes away from the imbalances dropping, and the early look says 140 million to buy. Not a heck of a lot of room.
No,
I mean, 140 is nothing, right?
No, I'm just going to answer a couple questions related to the prop floor. Is day trade the world only in Canada? No, we are everywhere except for the U.S., right? It's a global company. Yeah. We have offices in a ton of locations. We have guys from, Louis from Barcelona comes on, right? Around 8:45 every once a week or no? Or something like that?
It's every other week, I think.
Every other week. So we have a bunch of offices. If you want to know where they are, or affiliated offices, if you want to know where they are, just hit up the email. What is it, marketing at?
If you marketing at tradertv.live, and if you have any questions, we'll get them.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to apply to the Toronto floor, I mean, you can send to an email there. We'll make sure it gets directed to Greg, our floor manager, and you'll hear us say Brankles. But it's his trader ID just ends up being that, but it's Brandon. It's because there's Brendan and Brandon, so we call Brandon by his trader ID. That's something that happens a lot, by the way. Like, we were having this discussion. A former trader was here that works at ITG. They're a data provider for traders. And his name's Sean, but he's like, the guy's the CEO of ITG. And we call him Debo because his trading ID was like Debo. So I still call the guy Debo after 20 years. And he calls me Nairobi. And a lot of former traders on the floor still call me Nairobi. They call Sean Shikady. There's like everybody had these nicknames based on their trader ID because that's what you'd go by as a handle on the trading floor. So it's weird. If you're at the bar, nobody uses their real name. Like that, like Dan's Dash. It's all Dashel. Yeah. But for you, it's just a room.
It's a room because it's a lot easier to say that than it is to say the entire name.
What is your last name, Arun?
It's a long one. I'm sure it's on the banner somewhere. I'm not going to get into that, but it's going to take too long. Let's just say that. But yeah,
I practiced it
because I mean, you live where you live, and you got a lot of experience practicing those
like
names,
it's
right?
Like that, eh?
It is like that. Okay, going back to one of the other questions, and I think this is an important one. You've got a great win rate, but you don't have a background, you don't have a finance degree, blah, blah, blah. Man, in this industry, it's all about the results. I mean, yeah, people look at it, maybe look at your resume depending on where you're going, but at the same time, your results speak much louder than your resume. So if you've got tremendous results and you can prove it,
oh yeah.
I mean, that's all you really need. Forget about the background and the finance degree. That, like, textbook learning doesn't really help you that much when you're in the fly, on the fly making decisions and making trades, right?
That's a good point. I should add to this because we get this question sometimes because a lot of people, like, when you come, you start as a trainee on the trading floor, and then you have to earn your way to, getting your paycheck and getting extra capital and a lower minimum risk. There are some exceptions to that rule because if a trader comes in with a long track record that they can prove to us, I'll use an example. We did have a trader that came from, he actually came from a bank trading floor with a good track record, and he popped in the simulator to learn the markets and was a full-time trader from day one. And we've had that happen in the past, but you do have to prove it. We had a guy who to do that, he actually brought his tax returns to prove that income, which is fair. Like, it's not that you have to be a trainee, but most people are going to come in having not day traded like we do. But if you can prove it, put the money where the mouth is, and you can sort of bypass that. It's rare. I will tell you, most people have to come in and be a trainee like everybody else, regardless of your experience, but it's not impossible. Tesla trying to bounce. We're back up 3,700. And he gets some offers at 1-to-1, which will be in front of 222, and then work the high of the day as well. As far as Amazon goes, not really pressing much further to the downside, but it's holding VWAP here. So I'd like to be able to have these on going into 350. Obviously, I should say this now, it should be obvious, but we're day trading, I'm out at the end of the day. I will not be, regardless of how much money, even if this is in the money at 359, under no circumstances would I hold a Tesla trade. We wouldn't hold it past 4 o'clock anyways, but I wouldn't hold the trade going into earnings either. Like, that just wouldn't happen. And this can't even get past the 50 level, like, really? Like, this just does not want to go. I'm not going to squabble over like 10 cents I'm just going to take wherever it tries to curl, I'm just going to take some out there and respect that. I want to be in both directions in this market. I could have just jumped back into meta, I suppose, right back in here at 50s and scalped that one, but that broke support at the bottom, so I got out of it. And yeah, you know what, it's kind of weird. Like I stopped trading. I didn't even get into Oxy. I saw someone saying XOM just rejected 104 even. I stopped looking at Oxy. I was watching that 69 high. Might come back to those tomorrow after the big move in oil. And while we're answering questions, Ian asked, where did I start learning how to trade? Here on the trading floor. So I graduated university with we've done our stories before. There's like a YouTube video on our stories. I think I have it pinned to my Twitter. Go ahead and check it. But just very quickly, I graduated with an economics degree. I joined the trading floor as a trainee as my first gig out of university. Like I had like summer jobs and other jobs here or there. One which was in accounting. I hated that. I was an accounting major in first year. I hated it. That's why I went to economics. But I learned on the trading floor. Like I was started out as a trainee. I learned from the other traders. I learned from my own experience. I tried a lot of different things. I was momentum trading, drawing trend lines out the wazoo for the first couple of months. Once I was shown penny stocks, it clicked for me. I was able to make some money doing that and then expanded from there. But I learned everything I did on the trading floor from other traders and from the markets themselves, from reading level 2 and reading the tape, and then just going from there. So like I do have a background in finance and economics from my schooling, but everything I learned trading came from here on the prop floor. Fundamentally, yes, understanding how markets work and economics, that my degree did help me, but if I'm being honest about it, it wasn't necessary. One of the best traders I know, high school education. That's just the honest truth. I look up to that guy. I actually learned a lot from him. We had him in studio, and he's one of the best traders that I've ever seen. And if we ever get him back on, he's absolutely brilliant. And the guy, he's probably a heck of a lot smarter than I am. And he's definitely a better trader than I am, to be sure. But at the end of the day, there is no one way to be a trader or what one trader looks like or some background that you have to be a trader. There's just no question about that. I've seen like every single style out there, truthfully told. And now that we're getting back up to the upside and bouncing up here, I do have to respect that Amazon's coming back. I got to make a decision, right? It's close enough to the imbalances that I'm going to opt not to reload. I will not reload Amazon. I will not reload Intel. I'll ride with what I have. It rolls over. I'll get out in front of 114. The same thing goes with Intel. Now that it's 340, I'm not really looking to reload this. I've taken it a couple of times. It's given some scalp trade. That's about it. My trailing stop, just to give you an update on Xpeng there, because while this was going on, I got trailed out of Xpeng. Did not break 750, so this trade is now case closed. We will do this. I'll hit the spike because, quite frankly, I haven't been saying anything about it all year. But I'm undefeated in my Dynasty League. We play 2 matchups a week. And so it's 6 weeks in, and I'm 12-0. And no one's ever been undefeated in this league this far in. Ooh. So all of a sudden, I'm kind of chasing greatness. I'm going to do a lot of that spiking. Hopefully I get a win this week. I play Sean. Brendo.
CIEN just popping up here, guys. Red to green on the day, but we're getting into some significant levels here. AT&T just saying they're going to plan a whole bunch more spending to build out their fiber network, which is apparently what this company does. CIEN, building out fiber network. So naturally, this one to the upside.
So, oh yeah, that's the upside. I was just sort of talking to Arun, filling him in about how that fantasy is going. I'm not the Miami Dolphins of the league. Look, there's ebbs and flows in that league, and it goes up and down. But it's a bunch of our high school buddies. So Sean's in the pool, I'm in the pool. It was all started as a way to keep in touch, and now it just gets out of hand. Although I think we could do better with the punishment for the loser. It used to be that the butler, the guy who loses the league and finishes dead last, like the butler actually had to put an apron on and at the draft serve the drinks and serve the food.
Oh, that's like nothing.
That's nothing, right? But now it's like, oh, the butler, because everyone's older, it's like, the butler just has to pay for the food. Yeah, okay, well, that's not a lot of fun. I'll tell you this right now, like when we do like fun bets or whatnot, I don't make monetary bets with my friends because it's stupid. I make like humiliation and fun bets with my friends because it's your boys, right? So Sean's down with all that kind of stuff. There's some people in the league, I'm not going to name any names, that are not simply cool with doing those types of fun things. It's like, yeah, I'm too proud to don an apron. whatever, man. Don't take yourself. I'm just sort of harping on it. I'm not going to name any names out there, but we have fun in our pool, which I think everybody should do. Whether you're into fantasy, have fun with your friends. Don't take yourself too seriously. Life is way too short for any of that kind of stuff. So while this is going on here, 5 minutes to imbalances. I've got my stops loaded, so I'm going to tighten my stop on Tesla as it's in the money. And this is what I generally do. I'm canceling my JD order. I don't want to break down on JD.com, obviously. It's way too late in the day for that. But I would not give Tesla to that low. I'll give it to VWAP if it cracks like 20 cents below break even. I want to tighten the stop as it's running the money for me. Because if the imbalances come one way or the other, I just want to be reacting to it and not really losing on that trade. Like, it's giving me a bit of a scalp trade off VWAP there. If it continues, I want exposure to that. If it can't, fair enough, I can live with that trade. Alibaba was the talk of the town for most of this show, and now it's doing absolutely nothing. Look, it's going to be on our radars tomorrow because of that technical break. If it's beneath 72, then I'm short Alibaba tomorrow, unless, I mean, probably. I'll probably take a 70 break. I'll probably short in front of 72 as well. If it's diddling in the middle, I might hold off if it's at 71. But this technical break was huge. I'm anticipating you could see a similar one. And if this is what I mean by it, look at the daily chart. That's 73 on BABA. So when it broke that 72, I guess the floodgates opened up. JD's got a similar one that is going to be in play, guys. So that could be pretty ugly, guys.
Yeah, a few minutes more, and we'll get imbalances out, 5 minutes or so. So I've kind of pulled up the imbalance, but we're going to wait on that. We don't get the update until 3:50 exactly. Netflix is now in the money. Okay, great, 40 cents. But again, at this point, it's all up to the imbalances. So we'll wait for Netflix to come through the imbalances. I'm going to answer Bradley's question. Did I study? This is an important question. Well, I guess a pretty good one in terms of information. Did I study anyone when I was, I guess, learning? Obviously, when you're learning, you're trying to look up to somebody. It's one thing I can advise is that you don't look up to specific people. You just look at specific traits that they may have that may fit your personality and attach that and try to learn that. That would help you because you can't be someone else. You got to be yourself, but it's, at the same time, you can learn specific things that you may be able to apply to yourself that help you along the way. You can't change. You can change your personality, I guess, but your personality is going to show in your trades, and you can't attach a trading style that is not going to fit the personality. Now, for me, I'm perfectly okay staying in trades all day. That fits me. So if I'm looking for traits that I can find from other people when I'm learning, regardless of who it is, you guys, well, I'm sure you guys all watch a ton of videos and read books and stuff like that. There's going to be certain things that are going to pop out to you that because they resonate with you, right? And you can see that specific trait being very helpful and adaptable to you. So start doing that. Instead of looking up to specific people, just find traits that can work well with your personality, and then you'll eventually, put something cohesively enough that'll help you not just from the market approach, but also just overall just approach to things and how you analyze, a lot of things. But it'll help you in terms of trading personality as well. It has to match. If it doesn't match, there's going to be a fight inside, and it's not going to go well because it's constantly being, I want to swing trade, but I don't have the personality for it. So you're going to constantly try, and it's just going to be a waste of your time. So I would rather just find specific traits that you can attach to yourself from learning from books, whatever, and then just use that, incorporate it, and kind of build yourself up that way. I think that's the best thing I can say, because it's just way too easy to be like, oh, I want to be like that guy. It's like, well, you don't know what that guy did to get where he did, right? So just learn what you think you can learn from him, and then just try to attach what fits your personality, and then just eventually, you'll build something. It's like Optimus Prime. Like, just take a piece there, take a piece there. That's just how it goes. When he gets all his extra stuff, it's not from him.
We could get into a long debate about Optimus Prime, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an analogy I would make, but I know exactly what you're talking about. But just to go back to the trades, because we got to do it. I'll do this. Look at it happened. It happened on Meta. It happened on Tesla. So we took the bounce off VWAP, took some out to scalp it, and then was looking for the bigger move. Could have just taken it all out, 222, but then it wick bottoms and then challenges right back. So basically they just ran the stops. But again, it's 348. I pretty much always tighten stops up at that particular time, so I did it here again. But now you're headed right back into the upside. But really, it's still a 4 or 5 handle range in the market, and Tesla's moving $1 at a time here. So it's really never been more than a scalp trade. Intel, look, it's the same thing. You're just going inside here. It's not moving. I might just get some of this out right here because, what's the point? I'm not all of it, but I'm just going to trim on Intel and take a bunch well it's below VWAP. I'll still have my stop, which I'm tightening probably to like 95 or so. But some of these moves, like you're not going anywhere in this market. So there's no need. You might as well, it just makes sense to trim a little bit as it gets closer to the end of the day there. And we have to rely on those imbalances to probably move the market one direction or the other. Amazon, which tested higher, that managed to hold VWAP. So, it doesn't actually run my stop there. I'll hold on to this for 114. So the market flushes. CCL, Amazon, and Intel, I'll still all have them. In 1 minute, we get those imbalances when they come out. If you're unfamiliar with what the imbalances are, at the end of the day, the closing print's done via auction. Before that auction happens, they disseminate the early look on the buy and sell orders going into that auction and then give you a number. If there's more bids than there are asks going into the auction, there's a buy imbalance. You get to see the size and the direction of that, which we get displayed in our platform live and then share with you guys.
Yeah, so on my screen I have it here. I'll do it real quick. I got 40 seconds before these numbers get updated. Essentially, the way it looks on our system, and I'm sure it's going to be on your system as well, probably under a different name. This one's called Imbalance Locator. You have the symbol, the direction, the size, and the paired value. That's what I've got here. So essentially what happens at 350, you get a bunch of data coming in that says there's this many orders or this much volume that needs to be bought or sold because of everyone throwing specific order tags out there, right? So market on close, whether it's to the buy side or to the sell side. And all that information comes in at 350, and at 355 you get the update from the floor as well. So when you get past 355, and the imbalance is large enough, and we saw this yesterday, it puts pressure on the name. As we stick on my screen, what do we got for imbalances? Sell side, AR, 2 million shares. That's the largest one. Paired, 8.2. Is that a buyout or some sort of special event? Because that's unusually large for a paired value. Cisco's there. Oh, Cisco's there.
Cisco came out of nowhere.
Cisco came out of nowhere. 2.1 million shares on the buy side with 1.36 paired. So the way I would look at this, if you're looking at paired value and size, is at some point there was 10 million shares to sell. They've already assigned 8.2 to a bunch of people. Now there's still 2.1 left that still needs to be sold. Now, as we get closer to the 355, those numbers will update. But at the same time, at 355, you get the interest from the floor, which could completely remove this number from the equation, right? They could just offset the entire thing, and then we just move on into the close with a smaller number or even a zero figure. So for now, it's not much on the imbalances. Do we see Tesla? I don't have Tesla up here, but Tesla hasn't done anything either, so no Tesla imbalances. Netflix, pretty small, probably small enough to not even be in the top little bit. Amazon, I see at 320K to buy, nothing. Not much. You're not getting a ton of action. These are actually pretty small. I'm just going to take a quick look at AR. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, there's got to be some sort of index event here because that's done 12 million on the day.
I'm trying to find something on it, but I couldn't really find anything. But like when it's that big out of nowhere, it tends to be. It is a slight buy imbalance on AMAX or on Amazon, but it is overall like 300 total to sell, which is pretty insignificant. That's generally speaking going to lead me to just take the first move to the downside that I can on Amazon. So I'll just get out of it. It won't be a losing trade, but the bounces didn't really come the other direction, and Amazon's actually came out a bit of a buy. That can be an indication to get me out there. I didn't even see Intel, and it's still not moving. So if it's not moving, there's no opportunity. I'll hop on the bid where it stands. And then CCL, which for me, like sometimes holding on to trades is like that's what you want to do. Like you want to make sure you get the most out of your wins and then give it some room to run. Why did I just get, oh, there we go. It's overfilled on Intel. But one of the things that you look for is don't just stop. You had a good trade on the stock, go back the next day and don't ignore it, right? Like it might not be the exact same setup, but like, you have a look at the range that CCL has put back in here. If it does eventually break to 760, well, you can see support's down there at 7. So if it makes another leg to the downside, well, there can be some longs off 7. There could be a breakdown of the same double bottom that can be in play for us. And NEO's the same story, man. You're still below that 1070, or you're at that 1070 area on the daily chart. It might set up the exact same way where that previous low can be your resistance level. If it breaks it, it could jailbreak upside. If it flushes, it could go down into 10 even. So let's not ignore these, despite the fact that we all know exactly what we're going to be looking at tomorrow. The first thing on everybody's mind is likely to be Tesla. It was an incredibly, I traded one trade in Tesla the day before earnings because it couldn't break the range. It will break this range tomorrow. And you just might not care. Well, first of all, it's going to break this range in 15 minutes. So that's going to happen. I don't care how the earnings come out. There is a I was about to say zero, but you should never say zero. I don't speak in certainties, then you'll think in certainties, which is stupid. So there is a very slim chance, I'd say less than 1%, a non-zero chance that Tesla trades inside of this. Like, give me a break. It's not going to trade inside this range come 405 when the earnings come out. Very small chance that that happens, and whichever way it breaks is going to give us a better indication of what tomorrow's going to look like. No point guessing at it. But speaking of earnings, I suppose Tesla isn't the only one that we have on the board. We should be looking at what else is out there as I see it come up on my board there. So I don't know if we're ready to throw to Brendan for that, but we do have some other earnings on the board. It's not all about Tesla. It is.
Yeah, I was just confirming as well, guys. 405 for Tesla, so you won't have to wait too long for that one to come out. But yeah, here we go. Here's what's coming tonight after the close and before the open tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Nokia. There you go, Nokia.
Lamb.
Nokia and Ericsson at the same time? What?
Don't even act like you're
old school. What? I don't know about those phones.
No, but
I
I'm just
know
saying
about
you're
those
excited.
phones.
You're not excited about it.
No, I'm not excited about it. I'm just saying Nokia and Ericsson at the same time. That's pretty cool. What else is up? AT&T.
Lamb.
Alaska?
So if you're, and we only ever talk about this stock when earnings come out there, but Lamb Research. So ASML reported they were up like, I don't know what they're up now, but when they closed in Europe, they were about 5% to the upside, and they're an equipment maker for chip makers. Same thing with a Lamb, which is LRCX. They're up today. Good bellwether, these names. When they start talking about their demand and when they give their forward guidance, that's going to give you a good indication of how you should be treating your AMDs and your NVIDIAs and your Intels of the world. Now, Lamb's been under a lot of pressure. What's going on between the U.S. and China is not going to be good for them, or for, and you've heard me say this, for AMAD as well, because quite frankly, there's the Chinese market for chips is gigantic, and so if they don't have the ability to supply them with parts and machinery, then that's a big opportunity for them, and it's under a lot of pressure beneath a big level on the daily chart. So that's why it's going to be on my radar. Not usually something we trade, and it's an expensive stock, but I'll be watching this one for sure going into that close. Should be an exciting one. I'm still somehow into CCL because it doesn't seem to want to run my stop or break lower, so I'll just have to hop on the bid. That was a good one, and the travel space has been a good trade. Momentum-wise anyways, I can't tell you it's been a good trade on the daily chart because it's been an ugly one, but this looks exactly like, I mean, NEO, CCL, pretty much all the same thing. I'm just going to sit on the bid here and try to get out of that. Alibaba should be on our radars, of course, after the technical move that it made to the downside. And I see some people talking. One that we didn't trade. We didn't trade that AMPX. I wanted to look at, is it AMPX that was moving? There was some moves that happening in Mullen, but AMPX, I see you guys talking about this one in the chat. It actually hit my Trade Ideas scanner. Hit enter like a third time there. It hit the Trade Ideas scanner. I'm like, oh, I didn't get over to it, but nice breakout. So it was kind of like a big break earlier in the session, and then trying to follow through right after 2 o'clock, and then kind of fell asleep. But it did have this late breakout at 3:30, so going to add this one to the radar. It's a pretty big mover. I remember this thing at $15. It gets to that price. Should be pretty exciting. So thank you guys for bringing that one to my attention. It's weird, like we got all these questions, answering stuff about day trade the world, and I saw it on my scanner. Not necessarily that I was going to trade it, but I forgot to bring it up because I got caught in my thoughts talking about prop floors and trying to educate you guys on some personal questions about my journey there. However, I did notice 4,600 watching, and we haven't hit 1,000 likes yet. So, I mean, Tony doesn't look very happy about that right now. His head's down.
Happy guy all the time.
He's on his phone, about to ring the bell, and yet apparently you guys don't like the show. So
yeah, I mean, like he's usually a happy guy. The fact that we're not at a K, kind of, I'm sure that bugs him a little bit. A quick info update here. AR still sell side. Now it's paired more volume. I quickly looked it up. It's actually a buy into the S&P 400. It's an addition into the S&P 400. Should be about 22 million shares. Clearly, it's a sell, so it's going against what it should come out as. So keep an eye on that if you are deciding to participate in any sort of end-of-day stuff with AR, that it's supposed to be a addition into the S&P 400. It is replacing Allegheny Corp, which was taken down, it was deleted out, right? So Now you can see if you've got the imbalances here, it's getting larger now to the sell side. So more volume coming in on the sell side here, or at least trying to participate at the end of the day, adding to the sell side imbalance, which is getting now at 3.6 million to the sell and getting bigger. There goes 4.2. So more volume piling in onto the end of the day sell side on AR.
That's a great catch, Arun. So thank you for getting that one in there. Because I searched for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I really could, not 3 seconds, it was a little bit longer than that. However, I will tell you this. Thank you. We got to like 1,500 likes. There was a direct correlation between the uptick in likes and Tesla bouncing to the upside there. I'm not making it up. Like look, it's a coincidence, and the market's trying to bounce off 3,700. But Tesla going into earnings, small rally. It's up 1%, so it is leading the market a little bit. It's 405 is when it's supposed to come out. I feel like a few times we've seen Tesla come out a little bit early. I don't want to say that like written in stone or anything, so it is possible that we could get the earnings for Tesla before we get out of here, but it's not a guarantee. It's expected to come out at 405. We'll stay as much as we can here, but with less than a minute to go here, thank you guys. It's been a fantastic show and a lot of fun here. And again, of course, always thank you, Arun. Sean has said he's feeling better and hopes to be in here tomorrow, so we look forward to getting him back in that AR, making some big moves at the end of the day. Great catch, Arun. But my eyeballs are going to be on Tesla. I'm going to leave my level 2 on Tesla, regardless of what anything else does at the close. This is what I want to be watching. Before you go to Tony, any final thoughts?
No, guys, it's going to be an exciting day. Be prepared for tomorrow. Rest up, come prepared, because Tesla, Netflix, you got a bunch of names coming out that are going to be hot fire.
Super hot.
Be
fire.
ready.
But I'm not a rapper. I don't know if you know that guy from YouTube, but he's hilarious. But Tony on the bell, get a camera on. There it is in 4, 3, 2, and 1.
What are you doing, Fahad? Stop it. Fahad's over here talking trash like he's going to break my ankles in his pajamas. Like, come on, bro. Just stop. Just walk away. Just take the win. Take the win. Just go away.
Fahad gets up during the close. He gets up from switching the show, walks over here as Tony's on the bell just to do this in Arun's face and talk trash to him. Like this is he's like, you can't guard me, you can't see me, I'm Fahad. Like, it's just, I love the level of confidence he has. But look, Tesla could come out, so I want to get to Brennan here for how the market closed. Nothing yet on Tesla. Brendan?
Yes, Lucas, you were not paying attention. Here we go. This is how the market ended the day, guys. Yeah, in the red, but off the lows. So nice bounce back there, right into the close. NASDAQ 0.43, 0.5% for the Dow, 0.75% for the S&P. Nothing yet. We'll hear it in my ear, but haven't yet for Tesla, guys.
Yeah, nothing just yet. We'll see. Like Brendan will get it to us. You'll know because the stock will go absolutely crazy like Netflix did. But just one thing, I'll preface this Fahad Arun talk by saying, in pretty much any other sport, I can't think of something that I wouldn't put my money on you versus Fahad. Why? And I'm just throwing that out there. But just so you
Fahad,
know basketball, fine, I get that. But anything else.
He just stepped in the gym the other day, and now he's flexing on me. He's trying to flex on me. Bro, what are you doing? Just stop. Just stop.
Don't flex. Don't flex on
man.
this.
Walk away. Walk away while you still have your dignity. Come on, man. Just walk away.
Do not flex on him.
Just walk away while you have some dignity, man. Come on. No, we're not going down that road. I didn't say I was amazing on the court.
You said you could play defense.
I said I could play defense. Yes, I can.
Defense, I say offense. That's how basketball works.
We're talking about defense and offense on two different sports.
You guys, the problem is you guys can't hear Fahad
that's the problem.
dropping all this trash talk to Arun. So I do apologize for the fact that he's yapping this entire time and Arun is responding to it, and you guys don't have a mic on him. At some point, it's just going to have to happen. Like all this trash, we're going to have to get Fahad like a microphone so you can hear some of this back and forth. Like he is Larry Bird epic trash talk. And I am kind of stalling to see if anything's going to come out on Tesla.
You know why it doesn't work with Fahad? Because when I played football, I played on defense. All we did was chirp. So, like, I'm used to this. Like, I go back and forth with receivers all the time. Fahad ain't anything special. He's nothing new. He's got no new material. All he does is recycle what he's got.
He said, he's like, I'm a crazy DB. I have a lateral speed. I could cover you. I'm like, we need to play flag football or do it. We can't play tackle. We can't put on. But if he thinks he can cover me, It's not happening, bro. It's not happening.
I want to buy a pacifier for this day.
He wants to buy a pacifier. Oh, he wants to baby
He's
me.
going to be my son.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say.
Where can I get a pacifier?
Fahad just said, I want to get a pacifier because when I play one-on-one with Arun, I'm going to baby him. He is going to be my son.
Says the guy who's already wrapped up in his pajamas in a nice little onesie. Get out of
You
here.
better watch
All I
your,
need.
watch your tone.
Save in their ear.
Watch your tone.
Flip-flops.
Do you see? Have you seen Arun? Are
Sorry,
you
guys, you guys have to put up with this. We're just
I don't
waiting
know what's
until Tesla
happening
comes out. Market's done. We've had our day's over. We're at this point, markets. We're just trying to keep you entertained until Tesla comes out. Futures market popped to 16 just now, but that's not from Tesla though. That's from something else. I'm going to switch over to the Nasdaq, see if I can't get the Nasdaq up and running, so we can actually maybe catch this because Nasdaq's going to be more sensitive to this information. Nasdaq
Brendan's
going
like,
up.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, Brendan's probably got the info on what came out in terms of earnings. Maybe we can go to him.
Nothing
He's
came
got
out.
the info. I
What the hell's he
imagine
talking
something
about?
came out.
No.
There's nothing, guys.
Nothing. Where's this market going then?
Look, man.
I don't know what you're talking
Brendan's
about.
like, look, we're trying to stretch it, but like obviously, look, we got to get out of here.
There's
Tesla's not
IBM's 4
moving.
times.
Of course, we're going to get the numbers when they come out. But for the entire team, for trash talking Fahad, for very humble rest of the crew there, because I see Mark and of course Lucas. For the midday guys, doing a great job. We had Ian, we had Luca, Trader Pratt, the entire team, Liz, everybody, Katrine. For my man Sean, who should be back tomorrow, for Brendan and for Arun, I'm Neil Roberts. This is tradertv.live. We talk a lot of smoke, but we'll be back to trade some Tesla tomorrow morning. We'll see you guys at 8:30.
Oh,
now it's
there
out.
it goes.
Just
Hold
came
on,
out.
hold on, hold
Just
on.
came out.
No, it's not.
No,
Just came
no,
out.
It's not out.
No, it is out. Tesla's out.
It's out.
What?
It's
Yeah,
out.
it's
It's
out.
out.
226,
Okay,
227.
That's not that crazy yet.
That's not that special. Come on, we
What are
want to
the
see some more
numbers, man? What are the
acceleration.
numbers?
All right, we'll sign off again, I guess.
I'm expecting to see 230s, man. Like, if it's good, I'm expecting 230. Like, that's not that big of a move to the upside. You're going to pop 3%. I don't know what the numbers are on this yet, but I'm expecting a heck of a lot more volatility if it's a long one.
Yeah, that's a weak
We'll
one.
see tomorrow, but what I'm seeing here isn't quite the explosion you usually see. Someone just stepped up and bought 30,000 shares at the top. Good luck to them with that. That's a 228 fill for 30,000 shares in the long. Brendan is gone, and that guy's out $1,200 and counting. So we're going to get out of here, guys, because they're already shutting down the stream on me here. But Tesla up and down, bit of sideways action. We'll see you guys at 8:30 in the morning. We'll be back. TraderTV.live. Peace. Really?